Yes, we're here, we're Parlour. What are you looking on your... What are you looking on your phone? That was a pencil trick he was looking at. How about you, Ray? What a day we've had so far.
Oh, brilliant, lads. I've really enjoyed your company.
Have you enjoyed it, though?
Absolutely. It's good fun to be with you guys. And he's only up the road to me, so he's even...
We're coming back to you.
Oh, you've made a few quid, didn't you?
Oh, cleaned up, didn't I?
Oh, we are here because the Fair Play app is sensational. We've done a wee bit with it today.
And the film was dead quick, wasn't it, as well, did they? They didn't do a lot of takes today, Ray, did we?
What, have we finished it? It's been 3 days. I bought my passport and all sorts. Where are we?
Would you get a technique today for the freeze?
Well, mine was sensational because I won, didn't it?
I thought you were both good. I can see you play quite often.
Yeah, what about him? Not so much.
You all right.
Played a bit, didn't I?
You can ping it.
Zing it.
You didn't actually do that in a game, though. You side-passed it every game.
The best thing about what we do, though, is when he ain't filming us, when we're booting balls everywhere and
and the chat.
You get lively, didn't you? You have a laugh.
The thing you used with them is you're slapping each other's arse. That was brilliant.
I love the way you.
Brilliant.
I love the way you done that to me. Nobody's ever done it like that before.
That was amazing. That's why you're single now.
Well, see if you wanted a bet.
Yes.
Because you enjoyed it too much.
Hey, come on, me man. You'll get over it. We need to tell people about this because this is sensational. It's something that I'm going to do with my mates.
It's a great idea, by the way.
Sit in the boozer with your mates. So I'll go, I think Man City are going to win. He says, I'll go, I think Liverpool, you can bet each other £10, £20, £50.
Unbelievable. Great idea. And you know what it's like these days? There's not as much cash around, is there? People need cards, especially the young generation. My generation is
you've got millions.
There's still Reddies. There's still Reddies around. We call them Reddies down here, by the way. You probably think, who are they, Reddies? And I've got 5 young children and they've all got cards. It's, Dad, can you put some money in my account? Not give them cash, because they say, no, come over in our account. So it's a great idea for that sense. And you can bet on anything. It's great, isn't it? We can have a game of, say 10-pin bowling, we can play golf, we can play shut the box, which I play regularly down my local pub.
Brilliant.
And you can all have a bet against each other, and it's bomb on the app. So great idea, fantastic.
You can tell.
I'm certainly going to be on that.
You can tell that Fair Play have gave him a few quid to say that.
He's been up there.
You know what?
He's a salesman. He's a salesman for Fair Play.
They just signed me up over there. He's better than a salesman.
Oh, tell him the part about the Scottish notes so earlier.
Yeah, I don't know where I got them from, to be fair.
What's that worth, about 8 quid?
Yeah, someone owed me some dough from last Cheltenham. And we were going back 10 months, and I've only just seen him lately, and he gave me an envelope, and I had a load of Scottish money in it.
Was it Brazil?
No, it wasn't Brazil. I'll give him to Brazil, though, when I see him.
Maybe McCoist.
McCoist.
Are you heading to Cheltenham?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you got to go to Cheltenham.
You love there, didn't you, mate? You love that.
Cheltenham is probably the best week, because it's hard work.
They're a long time, though, mate.
It's hard work. We go Sunday night. We leave Sunday afternoon. Me and Al will drive down to Ligham Arms, which is beautiful, Broadway. And then we stay in Ligham Arms overnight. And then we go to John Joe Neal's yard, Jack Dawes Castle, which is amazing. So we would see the horses out 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, come in, doing their gallops up and down and whatever. And we sit there, and we usually have a bottle of bubbly about 8, usually, because you've got all the owners coming in. It's like a day for the owners. And then we have a great afternoon in Chipham Camden with 8 Bells, which is a magnificent pub as well.
That, didn't you?
And then bang, show Tuesday. I won't do the shows Tuesday. I think Ali will be on it with Alan, and then I'll see Alan Friday. But every day we're there, hospitality.
Brilliant.
And it's a great day out. It's proper racing. I love the old over the jumps. Royal Ascot's totally different. Royal Ascot's great, but it's not as good as Cheltenham.
But you said that Alan Brazil rides a horse naked. Why is that?
Well, he has been on an horse, and it's a big horse, let's put it that way.
And what's your best Alan Brazil story?
No, I just love Al in general. I mean, first time I ever met him was funny because this was going back a few years now, and my first ever show I'd done with Alan, I thought he's a build professional. I come in at 5:30 in the morning, we were on at 6. Now, I've never met Alan Brazil in my life. Can you imagine this, right? So I'm walking in to meet Alan for the first time, and we're doing a radio show for 4 hours. I walk in at 5:30, no sign of Alan Brazil. So I'm sitting there going, where's Alan? Well, I thought he'd be doing all the homework about stuff and whatever. All of a sudden, the door comes open about 6 o'clock. Alan walks in. Oh, yeah, how you doing? I said, what are we going to do first? We'll make up as we go along. And that's how it was. And that's why he's such a good broadcaster, because it's not all about what's on your script, like you got there. You've got to make up as you go along, and that's the banter you get, and that's what people want to hear. And we had such a great show that day, And then we went out after the show as well, and I got in about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I always remember my missus saying, "How did it go today?" I went, "Oh, I fell through the door." I said, "Brilliant. Nicest man you'll ever meet, Alan." And since then, we've been good mates. You know what I mean? He meets me every day now.
Have you got a best day one? A best day you've had on?
I've been Monaco with him, Grand Prix, we was 100 yards from the track, didn't see one car. We stayed on a boat, and all we done was he didn't move for 10 hours, Alan. He just sat there drinking all day. I don't think he went to the toilet either. I don't know if he had a nappy on, I don't know. But Alan, wherever you go with Alan in London, he knows everybody. He's like a revolving door. So someone come and have a drink with him, they go back to work. Someone else will come in, they go back to work. And Alan just sit there all afternoon.
Champagne he drinks as well, innit?
He drinks anything, really. I mean, he's on the wine at the moment, I think. But he's an absolute legend and the best broadcaster I've ever worked with because...
I see, mate, aye.
He's been there 22 years. And if you go up and down the country, he's got so many followers everywhere. So, absolute genius what he does.
I love the public.
And people forget he's a bloody good footballer as well. In his day, he was a top. He played for Scotland. I know it's easy to play for Scotland, but but he played 13 times. 1982 World Cup. You know, brilliant. So people forget that he was a good footballer.
Do you think he could come on here?
Who, Alan?
Did you get him on? Have you got any pool?
Oh, Alan will always come on.
Could you give him a wee message?
Sitting there.
What about McCoist? Have you had a day with McCoist?
Ali's top class as well. Yeah, we've been out golf and he's a great guy, Ali.
Good stories.
Yeah. Gaza. Got some great Gaza stories. When he was in his fridge in the middle of the night and he got in his house somehow, opened his fridge, there's a burglar, he's gone down thinking there's a burglar and Gaza in his fridge making a sandwich.
Right, we're on to the career and what an average career it was. No, I'm kidding. Incredible career.
What a legend, mate. What a career it was.
Talk to me right at the start, coming through Arsenal, youth academy days. How was that as a young boy for Essex? How did you get picked up for Arsenal?
I was about 11 or 12. I played for Fulham first, 9 years old, training with Fulham, and then the late Steve Rowley passed away last year. He was always at my dad saying, "Oh, why don't we come to Arsenal training?" You know, and my dad was a West Ham fan, so he would love me to have gone to West Ham more than Arsenal. But in the end, something happened at Fulham. I think QPR Fulham, there was merging at one stage, about 1982, something like that, and all the coaches left. So I then went to my dad, "Dad, can I try Arsenal then?" And he went, "Yeah, of course you can, son." And that's where it started, and I loved every minute.
But you stayed right next to West Ham training ground, you're telling me?
I lived. My first house was right next to West Ham training ground, and I remember going over there as young kids do, standing outside the training ground, seeing all the players come in. Billy Bonds back in the day, Devonshire, Trevor Brooking, the older Frank Lampard, all them sort of guys coming in, and remember queuing up like every other kid, asking for their autographs and whatever. But that's what kids did, didn't they? I mean, that was a dream. And back in my era, there was no ever live game. The only live game was the FA Cup final. That was the only live game. You could see Match of the Day, obviously, highlights, but you never see a live game. Look at it now, we see live games every night. So football was a big thing in our family. FA Cup final day was the biggest thing in my family because my dad and my mum made sure 3 boys all sat there, all have our little orange juices and waiting for the build-up to it. The build-up was the best bit. When the coach is going down to Wembley and the big doors open and that's amazing. My dad would sit with his beer. So
Did your dad play? Was he a good player?
Not really, no, he didn't play. I mean, he played Sunday morning football like everybody else, but he wasn't never standards that could be a professional or, semi-professional even.
Yeah. What age was it when you went into Arsenal at?
About 11.
And that's you?
Yeah, 11, yeah. And then 14 you sign... I was playing Sunday morning football, which I love, Sunday morning football, grassroots football. I say now...
your boys' club?
Yeah, Club Park they were called. So I speak to some of the guys now, and we had lots of players playing for Tottenham, West Ham, and a few from Arsenal. And that was a really good Sunday team. But at 14, you have to commit to Arsenal. So 14 to 16, you're playing every Sunday now for Arsenal Football Club. And that's how you develop, playing every Sunday with the teammates. And a lot of those teammates will be apprentices with you as well. And then 16 is when you go full-time. That's when it gets serious because Sunday morning football is Sunday morning football. When you go day to day, you're training every day, it's now dog eat dog. I mean, you're talking about 40 kids, 45 kids, and probably out of them 45, maybe 3 or 4 make it.
Did you always think though you were going to be one?
You've got to believe you. You know, I left school with no qualifications. You know, it wasn't a great school I went to, so my mum said, "Look, what you do?" I said, "Mum, I got a job, apprentice at Arsenal. I won't let you down. I'll make it somehow. That's what I used to say to my mum. And look, it might not have been that level. It might have been lower levels, but it's still a good living, and you still, you know, can have a great life being a footballer. But I got a few lucky breaks. You always need a few lucky breaks along the way. You always got to play well at the right times when the manager's, George Graham's watching, reserve games.
So would he come and, would he come and watch youth team games?
Yeah, every now and again, youth team games and reserve games, because he's got to keep track of the young players coming through.
Yeah.
And what we used to do, every Friday, George Graham would set the youth team up against the first team, whoever they're playing. So they're playing Liverpool, the way they play, we'd be able to play like Liverpool and see, you know, that's how, right, this is how Liverpool going to play. But then, as a youth team player, you're trying to try that a little bit more to try and impress. And you get the first team going, stop running past me and all that sort of thing, saying, well, don't, you know, just go through it nice and easy. But you're trying to impress the manager then. So that was always interesting. And a few of the guys went, you was always their tip for the top to get to the first team.
So was it these sessions that George Graham seen something in you? Or was it playing games?
No, it's probably games as well. It's a bit of a mixture of everything, really.
So do you remember the first day when you got called up to go and train with the first day?
I'll tell you, my first ever time, I was training with this first team at the time, but my first ever away trip I went to was Norwich City away. I was 17 years old, so I got to train up there on my own because someone had got ill and in those days it's 3 subs only. Someone was ill in the hotel. It wasn't Winterburn.
The shits.
Pat Rice weren't feeling well either. And so I'll travel up there and I'll meet all the players, and this is like now you're big time now, and then you got to have dinner with them all, and you know you're like a bit nervous obviously. And the funny story about this was Tony Adams. Probably he was the only man I knew quite well because he lived around my area, and the same scout and whatever. And Steve Rowley always said, Tony, look after this kid when he comes into the first team. I was like, okay. So I said, all right, Tony. He went, oh, Ray, you've got to do a speech tonight. Obviously, you always have to do a speech on the first travelling when you travel away from home. So I said, Tony, what do I have to say? He went, well, just thank the manager, be nice to all the lads. Just say it's got pleasure to be, hopefully I'll be a lot more going forward. And just say something about George Graham's tank top, because he loves people talking about his clothes. Now, as a vulnerable young 17-year-old, I thought he was trying to help me out, right? So, bing, bing, bing. He stands up. Right, we got a new player. Stand up, Ray, stand up. So I stand up. It's going so well. Saints boss for inviting me. Great to be around you fantastic players, and I hope I can be here a lot more going forward. And by the way, boss, I love your tank top. And his face was like that. And all you heard was sniggers around the room. Like, can't believe he said it. Can't believe it. Because George Graham hated you saying anything about his clothes, because he was like immaculate, George. He went, you said enough now, son. Sit down, sit down. And that's how you broke the ice with the first team, because they didn't think I was going to say it. But Tony stitched me properly up. But that's what football teams are all about. That's the banter is the best.
And was that like renowned? Was there a few people that got done with that for Tony Adams?
Probably there'd be people who had to sing. You know, as it got harder, if I'm being honest. Like Christmas time, we had to sing Christmas carols and things like that on a box.
Do that, innit?
With like a bucket of cold water in front of you and all that. So I sung Little Donkey most years, and Tony chased me around the training ground because he was known as Donkey Adams, wasn't he?
Right.
Who was the big characters in that direction when you first went into the first team?
Tony was a skipper. Then you had some very experienced players. David O'Leary, who's got the appearance record at Arsenal. You had the late Dave Rocastle, who was a legend. Ian Wright obviously was there.
Quite intimidating when you went in there.
It was, but I knew you could fit in straight away. I mean, he's one of them sort of like Paul Merson was there as well. Steve Bowl, Nigel, your mate,
some characters,
Lee Dixon. Yeah, so it was. But you've been training with them as well. You've been all around them in youth team games, and they used to watch the youth team games. If they're training on a Saturday morning and they're playing Sunday, which didn't very rarely happen in those days. The youth team always used to hang around, and the first team would watch the youth team game.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, which is a massive buff for yourself as well.
Yeah. Was it a tough school when you first went in the first team in terms of you gave the ball away?
What, drinking?
No, that we're going to come to that. But in terms of you gave the ball away, would they be on you straight away? Were they a bit understanding?
No, I think they're understanding. I think they've all been there themselves, haven't they? I mean, you've got to have a few nerves when you're training with the first team, and you're trying to do your best you can, but you're going to make mistakes as well. And you've got to learn from your mistakes. That's the thing, being a young player. You can make mistakes, but make sure you learn quickly not to do it again. Yeah. And if you can do that, that's why some players are better than others who can do that quicker.
And then the debut comes. No, I never learned that.
He never learned that. But see,
no, I can see today's football. There's too many mistakes.
We're obsessed with people making their debut, didn't we? The whole build-up. But am I right in saying you made your debut at Anfield?
Yeah.
Wow. How daunting.
It could have been a harder debut, really. I mean.
So when do you find out you're going to be involved?
Do you know what it was? Early that month, Arsenal lost to Wrexham in the FA Cup, and George Graham was going crazy. Like the first team, I'm changing this. I'm getting more youngsters in, and so I got lucky really because if they beat Wrexham, I might not have got an opportunity. But you find out a couple of days before. It was I think it might have been a Tuesday or Wednesday night. It wasn't like a Saturday game. It was a midweek game, and he said, "Right, pulled me to the side. You're playing Saturday." And you know, suddenly you think, wow, I've been used to playing in front of 200 people. Now you've got 40,000 people.
Were you scared of thinking about that or excited?
You're excited, but you're also very nervous going into the game. But it was like an old rigid 4-4-2 back in the day. I had obviously Dave Rocastle alongside me. He was a great help for young players as well. Right, stay with me, Ray. When I close down, you'd be behind me and whatever.
So Tony Adams.
It was going so well. The debut was going really well to the 44th minute, and boff.
Penalty.
I'll take someone down, Rosenthal, and it was a penalty, which is a nightmare on your debut. When it was 0-0 as well, different if you're 3-0 down, you get away with it. But it's 0-0, going into half-time, a minute to go before half-time, Jan Mulby, I think, took the penalty, scored. Good player, there's some man I was marking in the field. Didn't move. He was always one step ahead. Didn't move, but great passing ability. But George Graham was brilliant half-time. He didn't come down like a ton of bricks. He went, well done, son. You're doing really well. Keep it going. Yeah, if he had a go at me, then I probably would have gone more into the shell. Yeah. But he knew that he couldn't have a go at me. I've made a mistake, but, I played all right second half, and then you're away then. Nightmare debut, but in the end it was... It's one of them games you've got to learn quickly from making a mistake.
Could he be quite hard, George Graham? Because
to
the outside he looked like a strict...
Come down you like a ton of bricks, if he needed to. But he knew the players Did you ever get that for him? I got fined a lot of times. For 2 weeks' wages for everything.
2 weeks' wages?
Yeah, 2 weeks. It used to be 2 weeks' wages and,
Mostly for going out?
Being late to training, things like that.
Why were you late? You were a young kid?
Well, because he was coming around the M25. And I'm with Tony Adams a lot of the time. And he always used to get away with it, Tony, because George Graham loved him. He loved him. But again, you're learning from your mistakes as a young player that you can't be late, you can't do this, you can't do that. And he's trying to teach you how to be a professional footballer, which is exactly what you want to be.
Yeah. I just want to go back to the debut, Ray, but was all your family there?
Who was there? My dad was there. My dad went up with a scout. Steve Rowley, so he was in the director's box. He said the best thing about my dad, he said Kenny Dalglish was alongside me, unbelievable. Kenny Dalglish was in the director's box alongside, and he loved Kenny Dalglish. He said what a player he was, by the way.
And did he follow you home and away for the rest of your career, your dad?
He started watching me some of the games at home, and then he went back to West Ham because West Ham and Arsenal always played at home together. Right. So he was more of a West Ham fan, which was no problem. I scored at Upton Park a few times, and my old man, my dad would have been in the West Ham end. I said, Dad, you just celebrate? He went, I didn't know what to do, really.
Brilliant. But that next year, he really comes into his own League Cup final. You stand in League Cup final.
Yeah, League Cup final.
That must have been some day for your family.
That was unbelievable, yeah. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday, it was a really weird season because it was 2 Sheffield derbies in the semi-final, Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United, and Arsenal Tottenham in the semi-final. Of the FA Cup, but we played Sheffield Wednesday in the final, obviously, of the League Cup, and that was a brilliant game. Obviously, well known for what? Do you know, boys?
He knows. Come on, tell him.
Brilliant.
What?
Winterburn. And Pat Rice is bust up.
Winterburn dropped Stephen Morrow, the goal scorer. No, that was Tony Adams who dropped him. But Tony dropped the goal scorer who scored the winning goal in the League Cup final, Stephen Morrow. He picked him up to say well done, and he dropped him behind and he snapped his arm. He got stretchered off with gas and air.
Oh, for fuck's
and he was like, the best moment of his life. Now it's his worst moment of his life because he's been stretchered off and he couldn't celebrate with all the lads. And we had to go to the hospital the next day with all hangovers. Like, oh, do we have to? And he was in the hospital still because he snapped his arm.
Wow. See, on that social side, was it as soon as you get in the first team train, do they then take you out on the social side? Or does it take a while to get involved in that?
No, I think you straight out, really.
So does somebody come and say, you come on out with us, Ray?
Well, Tony Adams, he was, Did
he take a liking to you straight away because of the scout?
Yeah. I used to travel in with him in the mornings in the end. At the start of my career, probably didn't, but then come on, you come in with me now, and you know.
So how often would that have been, Ray?
Well, going out? Probably 3 or 4 days a week. We'd go out. We wouldn't go mad, but we'd, you know, Monday and Tuesday. Football was very regimental back in the day, wasn't it? I only play Saturdays, Sunday off, Monday, Tuesday train at Highbury, train hard. That's when they had the Tuesday club. Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, play Saturday again. That's how it worked. So it's all, you knew exactly where you stood with it all.
And did you have the same boozers that you would go every day?
No, we go different places. It'd be North London, maybe Essex, wherever. We try and mix it up a bit. A lot of the guys lived in St Albans, around that sort of area. So sometimes we stay up there, and it was great banter. It was great fun.
It was funny.
Everybody was. Everybody
Boldy
was a great guy. He could drink more than anybody. Merce was great. Tony, you know, he was always probably hardcore, about 6 or 7 who went out. And then on a Tuesday, sometimes all the team went out. Then you go Covent Garden, maybe, because you're at Highbury. You can go to West End or whatever you want to go. You know what I mean? You could go anywhere you want because you knew you had Wednesday off. But a lot of the time, Tony would be ringing me Wednesday afternoon. Wait, where are you? I'm in the pub. So then we have a beer Wednesday as well in the afternoon. For a few beers.
That's brilliant.
Would George Graham not mind that, eh?
Well, he didn't know, did he?
Would MD ever come in training though, steaming for the night before?
You always stood away from each other. So the ones who've been out, you stand at that end, I stand in the middle, you stand at the end. If you stand together, the fumes of booze, it wouldn't be good.
Would George Graham ever come out?
No.
Never?
No. George can't. He's not a player.
So would other teams be then, like, would you still be winning games of football? Like, was everyone else doing that?
Everybody was doing it.
Exactly.
The culture in the early 90s was a lot of guys were going out and whatever. It started changing in 96, was when more foreign players were coming in.
Yeah.
A lot more professional, a lot more non-drinkers, if you like. But, you know, suddenly you're thinking, well, we can't do as much what we used to. And I think the whole culture was changing. Wenger come in, obviously, totally different. Tony gave up drinking, Tony Adams, in 96 after the Euros. So then started involved, so right, we've got to be a bit more sensible now. But the early 90s, most teams were doing it.
So would you ever play rough?
Not really, no. I don't think you went that far. I mean, Friday, look, people might have done it, but I've never done it. And I do call people liars if they say, oh, we was out Friday night, having a good time. No, you knocked it on the head. Thursday afternoon was probably a couple of pints, maybe. Thursday night you wouldn't go out and you get ready for the game Saturday. But then you know you're going out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you know what I mean? So
incredible.
My dad's a massive Arsenal fan. He asked me last night to ask you, where did the Romford Pele, who started
Oh yeah,
that?
Mark Overmars that was, in 1998, and training one day. And little Mark, he was a funny little character. Great player, by the way.
He would not have beer, Mark Overmars.
He was a good player.
Cocktail, wasn't it?
He loved to having a bet, and you know his own sort of characters.
Right.
But one day in training, I went round about 3 players. Not me, Dennis Burkett, smashed it in the top corner. David Seaman didn't move, and little Mark Overmars run past me. He said, "You are like the Romford Pele." Obviously, he's found out I come from Romford. And I said to him, "You don't even know where Romford is?" He went, "No, I don't," like that. And that's how we left it. But that afternoon, we had to take turns doing a press conference. So he was the manager, and he was little Mark Overmars doing this press conference. And one of the questions was, can you beat Manchester United in the league this year? Because they were the best team by a mile. They win it every year, more or less. Except, Leeds early and Blackburn. Other than that, it was all Man United. And little Mark Overmars said, we will definitely win the league this year because we've got the Romford Pele on our side. And they put it in the papers.
What a guy.
And that's how it stuck.
See, on that, would you ever take any of the kind of foreign superstars back to your local in Essex?
Mark Overmars been back to Rush Green Social
No
Club.
way.
We've had all them boys. All the boys.
What day was that?
It was just a normal Sunday. You know, all the boys used to come, and every now and again we'll have a beer around our area, Romford. We'll have Boldy's been in there, Mercy's been down that way, you know, all them sort of guys. Obviously, me and Tony live around there.
Yeah.
So Tony knew it anyway. And this social club we used to go in, it looked like a church. From the outside, you're thinking, there's nothing in there. But when you open the door, it was electric. And whatever happened in there stayed in there.
Brilliant.
So if you fell over in there, which Tony down quite regularly.
Could Overmars have a good go?
No, he'd have a couple of beers, but he's more wanted to have a bet.
Right, okay.
What was Ian Wright like? Because he was a superstar at the time though, wasn't he?
That was good as gold, right? He's bubbly, you know, great for the dressing room.
Would he come out?
Yeah, he'd come out, yeah. He'd always come out every Tuesday. a little bit different in that era. Do you know why? It's very, very easy why. There was no phones around. There was no social media. There was no this, no that. We couldn't stand at a bar now as a team having a few beers. It'd be all over Instagram, social, Facebook. It'd be all over Twitter, and that was the difference in back in the day. Now, look at the players now. Whatever they do, if you get taken a picture of just having a swig of a pint. Oh, he's had 4 pints, and people put it on social media, which is a nightmare for players now. But we didn't have none of that, so it was a lot easier to socialise and get away with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it now. In our area now, you could be like, go back to the early 90s or whatever and do what we used to get up to because you'd be in the papers every week.
No. Was he quite a feisty character, right? Because remember the thing with Schmeichel and that?
Oh yeah, righty, yeah.
But would he have it in training and that as well? Would him and Adams go for it with each other?
He was usually Dennis Bergkamp as well. He was feisty.
Was he?
He'd leave his elbow there and whatever.
What?
Martin used to kick him sometimes in training, Martin Keown, and then it'd be, you're going to get this every week, and they'd square up to each other. Stop kicking me, and this is what you're going to get every week. But that's what you had to have. That you have to have that bit of a little bit like Rooney back in, similar. He's got that little bit of a nasty streak.
He was better when he was
in a
like
nice way, not in a horrible way. And a lot of the players had that in our team. Patrick Vieira, Keown, myself. You had to have that little bit. You could dig in as well. You could play football, but if someone tried to bully you out of a game, then you have to stand up for yourself, and that's when we had good players to do that.
I never thought Bergkamp would have that.
Leave an elbow all day long. And it's Dennis Bergkamp, he'd go like that, put his hands up. Oh, he can't be. He couldn't. There's no VAR then, was there?
How good?
If they look back at it, he would have been sent off probably 3 or 4 times a season.
He would. How good? Oh, Bergkamp is brilliant. See, on the social side, was there any older players that were against it? Like David O'Leary does not like to be one for going down the boozer. He looks like
yeah, he would every now and again. I
thought he'd have grass in them all, do you?
I thought he did grass. It wasn't every week though.
George Graham's moment.
He wasn't every week, yeah. Sometimes they tried to find out where he was going and whatever, but they never found out. Found out. But most of the weeks it'd be the encore about 7 or 8, and then after that, every now and again you'll have the whole team out, which was great if you're out for having dinner with your mates and you're an Arsenal fan, and suddenly you see the whole team. And we was always good as goal with the punters. Yeah, can I have a drink, have a picture? No, if they did have a camera, but not after, as I said before, lots of people didn't have phones then. Yeah. So you didn't have many pictures, and if someone's walking past with a Kodak camera, and you have a picture with them.
How would you have coped in the modern game?
I'd stick to the rules.
Would you?
Of course you do, yeah. You go by what's going on when you're playing.
Yeah, miserable life for you.
I got into the team and you could go out and have a beer. That's what I did. Now, if I got in the team and you couldn't do that, I wouldn't do that. Because you want to be a footballer.
Yeah, he's also a big game player, isn't it? But am I right in saying you started the FA Cup final against Sheffield Wednesday, but then
got dropped? I had a nightmare.
Did you have a shocker?
Yeah, I had a shocker.
I didn't want to say that. I was scared to ask.
Do you know what? That was probably the nervous I've ever felt in a game.
Why
FA Cup. I don't know, because maybe growing up watching every FA Cup final.
It was the biggest thing in the
biggest thing in my household. And we stayed in a hotel 3 days before the final, which wasn't a good idea.
Too much.
Because you're thinking about it too much then.
Yeah.
You always, where under Wenger, we should travel the night before like at any other game to a cup final, and then you're not thinking about it too much. You get out there like any other game. I know it's a big occasion, but I was young. I was only 20 odd years old, and I think I just had a nightmare in the game. I played really well in the League Cup final. That's why he kept me in the team. And then he dropped me for the...
Did you know you were going to get dropped for the second leg?
Well, you knew you've had a bad game. I got dragged off after about 60 minutes. And so you're like... And there's some good players on the sidelines ready to take your position. I'm young as well. Yeah. And Jules Graham probably thought, this is too big for him. We're going to put someone a bit more experienced in the midfield for the second game. But it was still delighted that we won, obviously 3-2. Andy Linnigan pops up with a goal corner. And they had a really good team then, Sheffield Wednesday, I tell you.
So do you still feel part of it, even though you've not played?
Well, you do, because you got the replay. You was in part of it, and you got your medal. You always cherish your medal, because that's my second medal. But that was the one growing up as a kid that you thought, can I get an FA Cup? Can I ever play in an FA Cup game? And to get in the final was amazing.
Would their celebrations be bigger than the usual during the week?
I still celebrated like I would have gone out exactly the same.
Would that be a free day?
Oh, you would have carried on, because that was the last game of the season.
Right.
So you knew you had a break now as well. So you could go out for whenever you liked.
And would you just go away in the summer, a few of the boys?
That era, probably not. I would go away with my mates.
Right.
So our little crowd in my area where I grew up, we still had our mates and whatever. So you wouldn't go with the first team because a lot of the other guys were married and kids. I didn't have kids, but I would go away with my mates around my area.
Yeah.
So, and we had a blinding time. I miss them holidays, you know.
Went a bunch to go Alton Towers, you said.
Pat Rice, wasn't it?
Pat Rice on.
Pat Rice just got me to the airport, to be fair.
Well, I don't. This is becoming a wee bit.
Another big game.
A massive game, but is it right in saying maybe against Parlour, the European Cup winners, 1984?
He's the Grim Reaper, isn't he? He keeps calling you up for not getting starts and finals.
Did you know starting that, mate?
I didn't start that night.
Why?
We got hammered that night.
Were you buzzing?
I remember. No.
It's brilliant that we don't play the.
We got hammered by Palmer, by the way, in the game. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. But we had one shot on target, Alan Smith. But after the game, we had a proper party. I mean, I remember my mate we got back to around this area where we are now today, and they had a pub around the corner near the station called the Crown, which our mate, me and Tony Adams' mate, run. So we went in there. We stayed there. I remember kids with don't we get the old camcorders? Taking a camcorder, because we got back about 3 a.m. from that final. We're still in the bar like 9 a.m. All the kids are going to school. We're still in the bar. And my mate tried to put my medal in the fruit machine, which was even worse.
Tried to put what?
My medal I got. He tried to put it in the fruit machine. I showed him, he tried to put it in the fruit machine. And then we carried on all afternoon. We had a beer till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we just crashed out. I can't drink no more. So when you get to the stage, I can't drink no more. But I celebrated. I didn't play the game, but it was great to get a medal and whatever. And we got away with that game.
Is Adam's a good laugh?
Oh, brilliant. Oh, Tony, yeah.
Watching him on Strictly and that, he seems like
Tony
a good guy.
was such a good guy.
Has he got a good partner in that?
Do you know what? As much as we muck about and we used to have a drink, he's done so well as well. I mean, there's a lot of people who struggle with drinking and whatever they get struggle with, but he hasn't drunk since 1996, which is an amazing achievement because, a sort of guy that always was drinking, suddenly just knocked it on the head because of his family and whatever.
Yeah.
So fair play to Tony. As much as we used to have a laugh, he'd done the right thing for his lifestyle.
Amazing. George Graham goes controversy.
Was that a bit of a shock when he left?
Yeah, it was a big shock. But when George?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No one expected that because George was winning trophies and very successful manager. What he achieved at Arsenal was unbelievable. The 89 game, beating Liverpool Anfield 2-0 and 91. He's for the squad he had, very successful manager. But obviously he broke the rules, took a bung.
Yeah.
He loved a bit of cash, George, to be fair. Most Scottish people do, don't they?
He took a bung to wear that V-neck.
They love a pound note, Scottish people, don't they? They love a pound note. So he done something, got caught. I'm not saying every manager done it, but he's the one who got made an example of and lost his job, which was a big shock for everybody.
Yeah, I remember.
Did you struggle with that? Thinking maybe...
No, not really. Look, it's what it is. I mean, the most important thing then, who they're going to bring in as manager. I mean, that's where your career's going to go. That manager's gone now. He ain't coming back. So you've got to think, who they're going to bring in now? Will it help my career or hinder it? I don't know. Because some managers will come into the team, they might like you, they might not. And that's the gamble you're waiting for the next manager who they appoint.
And there was another European final, but you started this one. But he's got dicked again, I remember the score.
Naeem.
I remember it, mate. I remember as a wee guy watching it on the telly.
It's great to be a Tottenham fan, Naeem from the halfway line. But yeah, we played okay as well. We should have won that game.
Another Scotsman comes in at Arsenal. He's like the Scotsman's,
Bruce Rioch.
He came in.
Your favourite manager.
Well, I like Bruce. I thought he was all right, Bruce. But they give me when the manager gives you a new contract straight away, you don't mind him, do you?
Yeah.
So he gave me, after a couple of months, he said, "Ray, I'm going to sign you up for a new contract." Oh, brilliant, fantastic. But I think the club was a little bit too big for him, if I'm being honest. He come from Bolton, no disrespect to Bolton, but now you're in London. He couldn't, and at that time, he was going out, he's out, Merson's doing this, and he just didn't know how to deal with it. And I felt a little bit sorry for him because he come into it at the wrong time, probably. He didn't get on with Ian Wright, which is a major problem because Ian Wright was a big player at the time. So he didn't last long.
Why would that be that he didn't get on Ian Wright?
Well, he was trying to tell him too much to play football, and he was saying, "Oh, I did, and Ian Wright's Ian Wright. You can't tell him; just let him get on with it," sort of thing. George Graham knew how to handle Ian Wright. Let him get away with a little bit more than others sometimes.
Do you think you need to do that with sort of your bigger names?
I think you have to. I think you have to look at your squad and say, right, we'll let him get away with a little bit more, but as long as he delivers at the weekend.
What do you mean in terms of getting away with a
paid.
little bit more? Maybe not working as hard as other people?
Yeah, maybe stuff like that. Yeah, making runs when he should be, and you know, application in training. You know, it's all about the Saturday. That's when you get paid. You don't get paid Monday to Friday. And certain players train hard to play well Saturday. Other players can go through the motions a little bit during the week, but you know they're going to turn up on a Saturday. And probably Wright was a little bit like that. He loved his football, but sometimes he'd take it easy and whatever. And Bruce was probably drumming in, come on. He's going, fuck, and he used to swear at him and whatever, you know what I mean?
And would Wright just tell him to beat it?
Yeah, Wright would say that. And he was probably bigger than the manager at the time.
He was the man that brought Dennis Bergkamp. I know he wasn't the man that brought Dennis Bergkamp.
He brought Dennis Bergkamp in.
So did you hear whispers as a player that Dennis Bergkamp might be coming to Arsenal?
Not really, no.
Did you watch it? Did you watch Italian football?
Was it for Inter Milan, was it?
It was Inter Milan, £7.5 million it was at the time.
That's big at that time.
1996, but what a buzz everybody get. I think they signed David Platt as well. From Italy.
No, it's exciting.
Well, you know, David Platt was still a good, solid player.
Disrespectful.
But he was Dennis Bergkamp. You going wow. And
so when you first seen Dennis Bergkamp, you're like, "What is this guy?"
Yeah, great trainer, great footballer. You could see that when he played. But his application to training was amazing. He changed a lot of British guys because we always went in training, do enough. As soon as they say, "Oh, you're finished now," you go in, have a shower, go have your lunch. With Dennis, he used to stay behind on his own and practice, chipping balls onto the bar. And every now and again, I might say, Dennis, do you want me to put some crosses in for you? Oh, do you mind, Ray? Yeah, no problem. So he's making you a better player as well by staying a little bit longer, doing a little bit more technical ability. And his technical ability was unbelievable.
So would he do things in training that you would genuinely go, wow?
Oh, yeah. People said about the Newcastle goal. But people go, was it a bit of luck that touch and he run round him? But Dennis, you see him in training, he would do something like that, you know.
Was you on the pitch when he scored the Newcastle goal?
No, I wasn't there, but obviously, what a goal.
You've been dragged, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I was injured. I wasn't even there.
Oh, so you weren't in the stadium?
I wasn't even there, no.
So that never surprised you when he scored that type of goal?
No, not at all, no. He was that sort of talent. Certain players, you think, well, yeah. I mean, even if he didn't mean it, he's never going to say he didn't mean it, is he?
No.
So, but I could see that he had that in training, that he could do stuff like that.
What type of guy was he?
I was going to ask that.
Great guy. Oh, Dennis was good as gold. As I said before, very feisty character. If someone kept kicking him in the game, he'd leave an elbow there and all that sort of stuff. The typical Dutchman, like Robin van Persie. If you watch Robin van, he's a bit more blatant.
Yeah.
He would go and do someone, and but Dennis was very clever. He'd do it in a nice way. There's no VAR. There's no one look back at it, but he knew exactly when to do it. And when the geezer went down, he'd be like that. Oh. And the referee, because it's Dennis Bergkamp, might have gone, he wouldn't do that. Yeah, he's not that sort of player.
So would there be fights in training and that with intensity so high?
There'd be squaring up to each other sometimes. I mean, Martin was top draw though. If you want to get yourself ready for a game, Martin, go against Martin, because he'd be digging you, and that's what you get every weekend, by the way, a centre forward in the Premier League. But every now and again he went over the top Martin, and then Dennis would square up to him, and that's what he was. But no harm intent, no problem. Shake hands at the end of it and get on with it.
I love that.
But you love Martin on your team at the weekend.
Would he wear the fucking red Puma Kings in training?
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Did no one maybe tell him to take them off?
About 15 pairs, Martin. He'd look at everyone, oh, that one's too big, that one's too small, because he had to be right in what he's...
Are you talking about boots, man?
Yeah, boots.
Oh, right, I thought you were talking about someone else, too big, too small.
What do you mean, is it true Dennis Bergkamp was scared of flying?
Never. Did your dad
Dad told me that as well, he was scared of flying.
It wasn't Nigel Winterburn.
But what? So did he not go to there?
No, he didn't fly nowhere.
Did any players ever say, "Come on, Dennis, just go on"?
No, not really, because he still played in the Premier League. He didn't miss a game.
I know, but surely in the big games,
the European games are a problem.
So what?
If you're playing in Moscow,
that's quite poor, that mate.
If you're playing in Moscow, but we always just say to him, "Do the business at home, Dennis, and we ain't got to worry about going away." And he'll be brilliant at home. And he'll win us a game maybe, and then we go away games, and a lot of the time we qualified. If we really had a big game that was a 2-day trip, he would go. He would leave on Wednesday.
What, and he would drive?
He'd get his brother-in-law or whoever to drive him where he had to go. If it was a massive game, I'm talking about if we don't win this, like to get through to the semi-finals of the Champions League or something like that. That extent of, but group stages usually, we usually breeze through, no problem. So he could miss Moscow, he could miss we always got Panathinaikos, he could miss that one because it's too far. But anywhere, Germany, Belgium, Holland, he would drive. It's not the end of the world.
That's crazy, son. Huh?
But Newcastle away was a nightmare for him, always, because we go Newcastle, he'd go up on the coach in the morning, about 11 o'clock he'd leave, with a kit man. So he'd jump on the coach with a kit man, we'll be training, Dennis is gone, then we go to the airport at like 3 PM, jump on the plane, we land about 4:30, something, it's not like hour and a half, hour flight. Coach will pick us up, we go to the airport, and Dennis will be already at the airport, have our dinner. The way home was the worst thing for Dennis because we played a game, the coach would drop us at the airport, we jump on the plane, and Dennis would be on that coach all the way home.
On his own?
Yeah, with the kit man.
Oh my God.
So he's a film buff, he knows everything about films, that's all he did.
Because he just sat and watched films on it?
And he used to phone me up, and I'd be in my front room watching telly, and he'd go, Ray, where's Doncaster? I said, the long way you did, he's got 3 hours. he didn't have a clue, and this was not Newcastle, it's a long way, that bloody, the A1, oh. So, you know, he would get back at training ground at ridiculous time.
That's crazy.
10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night.
Rioch was like going to summer in '96. Was there intern managers that came in before Wenger came in?
Well, we had Stuart Houston, caretaker manager. He was assistant, wasn't he? So he was there. But after Bruce Rioch, straight into Wenger.
Right, but Vieira comes in before Wenger?
Well, that was another Wenger signing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wenger
knew he was coming to the club. So he's David Dean,
right.
get Patrick
He won for you, mate, didn't he?
Remy Gard, Gilles Gamondi. There's a few French guys coming in that era.
Am I right in saying Vieira was a wee bit untested because he wasn't great at AC Milan?
He was only young, 17, 18, wasn't he?
He was only young.
But obviously Wenger knew all the players from the French youth team, and he knew he's tracked everybody. Henry, obviously he had him at Monaco. Perez he knew about. He knew all the top talent in France. Anelka, you know, he got him Anelka for £500,000. Wow. It was amazing. He was 18 from Paris Saint-Germain. So Wenger knew exactly, and in that era, the market, he knew the market. He knew exactly, Newcastle or Manchester United, they didn't know the players in France. He was much more British players were getting signed, and that was it. But he knew the market, and he knew how to what players to bring in.
But was there any worries for you that these guys were a wee bit untested?
No, not really.
No?
I mean, from day one, Patrick Vieira, I was like, whoa, what this kid, his debut. I played a big part in his debut, by the way.
Right, tell us.
Sheffield Wednesday, we was 1-0 down. I got injured, 21st minute of the game. I have to come off. Who's my replacement? Patrick Vieira. And he had a blinder. What a game. We won 5-1 in the end, that game. And that was the start of his career. And everybody at Highbury who was there that night thought, who's this kid in midfield? And I was sitting on the bench going, who is this kid in midfield?
What was he doing?
He's just spraying the ball around. His presence was the thing for me, because he's obviously a big lad. But his skill as well, ball skills. He used to love the one where he chips it over the fella's head. He'd come in, he'd watch him come to close him down, and he'd just chip it over his head and run round him. But he always wanted it at small spaces. And if you asked him back four, give it to him. And he had 3 players around him at the time. But no, he could always take the ball anywhere on the pitch.
Wow, what a player.
But yeah, obviously he got better and better as he got older. And he made mistakes, obviously, at times. He had bad games, but what a career he had at Arsenal. Fantastic.
See, when Rioch left, did you have a relationship or older players at the club, David Dean, where you'd be seeing who you think?
We didn't have a clue.
So when do you first
David Dean was the one. David Dean's been tracking Arsene Wenger for bloody hell. I think he tracked him at Monaco, then he went to Grand Passat as manager, and then he's leaving Grand Passat, and that's the time, perfect timing for him to come into Arsenal. Now, if you ask me who's the manager going to be, he's always going to be a British manager. Never going to be a foreign manager, because I didn't think Arsenal, that's the way they went. And David Dean told us one day, right, we've got a new guy coming in, Arsene Wenger, and everybody looked at each other and said, who is Arsene Wenger? No one had got a clue who he is. Ain't got a clue. And this guy comes through the doors, he looks a little bit like a school teacher, if I'm being honest. Everyone's saying, he can't be a manager, surely. And then after day one...
Can you remember what he said straight away?
Oh, his focus was unbelievable. And he could speak perfect English, which is a big help. For any foreign manager coming in, you've got to speak English. I mean, we've had Capello, being England manager, couldn't speak good English.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And the training methods were superb. I mean, I can't say enough about it. Not disrespecting my other managers, but he's always on the clock. He knew exactly when the concentration's running out. Because footballers have concentration of, say, a span of 15, 20 minutes. And then you start...
15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, you start losing it. You start losing you start losing the quality, if you know what I mean. And Wenger knew exactly when the quality's dropping in training, he'd do something else. And he'd change it completely. So you're thinking about something else now. But then 15 minutes and off, we change it again. And he was very clever at doing that. And what a trainer. Fantastic. Brilliant.
You kind of answered it there, but had you ever seen anything like Wenger?
No, not at all. No, being brought up with all British guys.
Did players react to that?
A little bit behind, I think. But people would argue that, people like Sam Allardyce was above his time because he was doing all the sort of diet stuff and all whatever.
He was doing all the analysis stuff as well.
Yeah, all that analysis, and all that. So he was probably in front of his time at that time. But Wenger was, for me, training-wise, was the most important thing. That's where you get yourself prepared. And I've always said in my career, the manager's job's probably not down Saturday. That's your job. That's the players, right? Monday to Friday
Great point,
is how you get the players prepared. Yeah. So my job is win the ball back in me. I know exactly what my job is. Person alongside me does. Person on the right hand side. Person over there does. Everybody does their jobs. Then you win the game, or you've got a good chance of winning the game. If two players don't do their jobs, then you've got a massive problem. And Wenger was very good at getting everyone prepared to know exactly what their job was for the team, because you can't have 10 messes and individual. You can't have 10 defenders. You have to have a little bit of everybody to be a good team.
You'd want 10 Winterburns, wouldn't you?
What did you have?
10
Pat Rice's manager.
Pat Rice's manager. Sorry, can I just...
Sorry, of course you can.
I'm sorry for jumping into you there. Was Wenger, like, did they have the hairdryer treatment almost?
No.
Was that
Never.
Do you think that's a side that...
He wasn't that sort of character. He didn't like confrontation.
No. So how would you know if he was angry with you?
Just dropped you. And then you go and see him, say, boss, and he said, well, you're not played so well, and and he could show you stats of what you did in the game and show you videos back. And the thing about Wenger, what he was so good at, he didn't jump down people's throats after a game. If you lost 2-0, and maybe it's your fault for a goal or whoever's fault it was, he wouldn't just hammer them. He would go away and look back at the goal 10 times and say, well, because sometimes it ain't your fault.
Yeah.
It looks like it's your man, and your man's run off you as a player, but you might be covering someone else because he ain't doing his job. And Wenger would see all the bits and pieces of it. And on a Monday morning, what was you doing for the goal? And then I say, I've seen it. I said, he weren't tracking his runner, boss. I tried to cover him. Then my man's got in. So it's his fault, really. And we have a big argument. But he should have that, and then don't let it happen again, and then we'll go training. He was so clever by watching it back, because you can jump down someone's throat and it might not be their fault.
See, when he first came in, did he make a point to maybe the English players that things are going to need to change into here, like diet, drinking?
I think it was training. Anyway. I think
so he didn't need to say it to you.
I think Tony Adams was a big factor, because he would give up drinking, no drinking in the players' zones anymore, all that sort of stuff started happening. Then you start looking after yourself, and you get left behind very quickly.
Was there players that did get left behind you?
I think everybody went with it. Right. I mean, if you look at the old back four, Lee Dixon stayed there till 37. Nigel, your mate, he stayed there till later years of his career. And Martin stayed there till 04. Boldy stayed there as long as possible. Dave Seaman was there till 2003. Everyone went with this guy because you could sense that we're going to be successful here.
God, that's mad.
And you want to
change it all years, wasn't it?
You want to be in a successful side. It's easy because you can see. Yeah, you can see the focus he had, and you could say, right, I don't want to be leaving this club now. Paul Merson left. He was probably the only one who left the club. Went on to Middlesbrough.
He says he regrets that now, doesn't he?
Does,
never bought in it,
he would have won a lot more trophies at Arsenal.
But did Wenger want to keep him?
Probably did, yeah. I think he would have probably kept him, but Mercer said, no, I'm leaving, and that was it.
So see, before Wenger came out, what would have been your typical diet daily as an Arsenal player?
What?
Would you have to fry up and that for your breakfast?
Well, I'm talking about before a game, you'll have beans on toast, omelettes, all that sort of stuff. But we had a 3-course meal under Wenger at 11:30 in the morning.
A 3-course meal before you played?
So you have spaghetti bolognese, Dover sole, chicken. And you could have dessert, apple pie, maybe yogurts and stuff like that. Then you wouldn't be allowed no other food for the rest. No sweets, no sweet stuff, only water, no fizzy drinks or nothing like that. And then by 3 o'clock, You've had all the goodness. You've had all the because what he didn't like, Wenger, and he tried to explain it one day. It was sugar content. Because your sugar, when I went to England, you had jelly babies in the dressing room. You're all scoffing them like, but you get a high. But then suddenly when it starts, you get a massive low, and you could see 2 goals in that low, and then you lose the game.
Yeah.
But he had a general pattern to say, right, you've had all this food, and you've had a bit of sugar, but not loads of sugar, and you'll stay at that level for the whole game. And that's how he looks at it.
And would you still sneak a couple of pints in after the game on a Saturday?
All day long. You'll always have a couple of pints. I've been down to the local pub after the game. We beat Man United 3-2, 98. There was no booze in the players' lounge. So me, Steve Bold, it might have been Dave Seaman, a few of us walked down to the local pub with all the fans in, and my brother was in there. I said, Jim, get us a little bit cordoned off at the back, tell the owner 4 of us are coming down for a beer. And we all walked in and had a few pints with our bags, with our tracksuits on.
Oh, yeah.
And the fans were buzzing because we just beat Man United 3-2, and that year we won the double.
And do you think see if he'd found out you'd done that?
No, he's all right.
He'd been all right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't want to change it completely?
No. He would let me have a beer, no problem.
Yeah.
He just don't go over the top, don't go too mad, and he didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
As long as you do it on a Saturday.
Yeah.
If you was drinking, say you come in on a Monday morning, which I've done quite often, when I got divorced, I was going out Sunday with my mates and whatever. Monday morning, I might have stink a little bit of booze, but I've had a few beers in the afternoon, because Sunday was the best drink of the week for me.
Sunday's the best.
I love Sunday drinking. So I'll have a few beers, but I ain't got to play till next Saturday. And he'd go, Ray, you've been out. I said, boss, how did I play Saturday? He went, brilliant. It was really good this Saturday. I said, I'll make sure I'm like that next Saturday, and then he'll let you off. And then it's all about the next week's performance.
So you need to make sure
if I don't do it next week, it'll be down you like a ton of bricks saying, well, look at you, that's why, because you went out on a Sunday.
He's like that. You don't mind a drink as long as you put the work in. You quite like Wenger, actually, when you think about it. So he finished 3rd in his first season. See, after that season, did you think, we've got this side here, we've got a top manager, we're going to start winning things here?
I think he's a players he brought in as well. I mean, he plays some top class players. I mean, Petit come into the team, Overmars. We had the famous back 6, I call them. They call it the famous back 4, but you got David Seaman and Martin Keown, who left out of Lee Dixon, your mate Nigel, Baldy and Tony. Then you had that little structure in midfield where you had Petit, Vieira, myself, and Overmars. Overmars was a flying machine, could score you 18 to 20 goals a season, so we let him stay forward. I shuffle across. Then you had Ian Wright, Bergkamp, and Elka. Just signed an Elka. And he was lightning. I mean, I've never seen a quicker player than an Elka.
Was he quite? He's almost, I think, an Elka enigma in football. That you don't really know much about him. Is that right?
He's quiet.
Was he?
But it must be really hard for any youngster, 18 years old, come to another culture. I mean, he's used to being brought up in France and whatever, playing Paris Saint-Germain. Now he's in England, totally different for him. There's one occasion, Steve Bold, he smiled, Nicholas. He didn't smile too often. We started rubbing his back, said he's got wind. He must have wind, don't you, old baby? And that didn't go down too well, but he was laughing in the end. He understood what we was trying to say. Smile a bit more, sort of thing, you know. The French lads were really helpful for him. Right. There was Remy Gard, Jules Gomondi. They was all there already. So he didn't just walk into a dressing room with all English guys or British guys. There had a lot of French guys there as well, and they used to laugh at that. You know what I mean? They'd be laughing.
That's brilliant. How long into Wenger's reign did you see a difference in yourself in terms of performance?
Oh, I played so much better under Wenger. I mean, technically...
Did you see, was there a loss in weight?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well?
I looked after myself a little bit more, but technically I got so much better training. And Wenger used to always say, stay behind, I'll do a bit with you. And he used to stay with you. If you wanted to, kick balls and control and all that sort of stuff. A little like we did earlier. I mean, not that quick, some of the balls. But it's all about first touch for me in football. I always say to kids now, right and left foot, if you can kick with both feet, it's a massive help for you when you're a young kid. But first touch is very, very important because get that ball out your feet and then you know where you stand with the next pass. But I improved as a player technically because under Jules, it was a lot more, Jules Graham, not disrespecting Jules, but he got results, a lot more defensive minded. Don't express yourself enough. Make sure you tuck in front of the right back to help him. Yeah. And he's not more, you're on the back foot really. Where Wenger used to say, go on the front foot. You know, go and take people on. Go and express yourself. Go and hit a 30-yard pass. If it's on, you think, and go and do it.
Yeah.
And he let you do that. And you learn that in training as much as anything. But yeah, technically I got much better.
Well, you said that was a competitive team, intense team, hard team. But Our mate Nigel absolutely shot himself with the canny that day at Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, brilliant that was. That
upsets me.
Did you rinse him for it?
That was brilliant.
Upsets me.
Nigel was a top. He was a tough player. Nigel, great player. Not many guys got past him.
No.
He always used to go to ground, Nigel. So if you chip the ball, when he goes to tackle you, I chip it, and he used to. I knew how to play against because I see him every day in training. But most of the wingers didn't know how to play against Nigel. But yeah, that was funny. He got hammered on the way home.
So it was Di Canio and Vieira at first, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Martin started.
He
always starts everything, Martin. But then it was everyone got involved, and Di Canio lost his. Do you remember the referee?
He pushed him, didn't he? Alcott.
Yeah, Alcott.
Alcott.
And the way he went down was brilliant, wasn't it? I mean, everybody's all around. And then Nigel chased Di Canio, and then obviously the thriller. And he got hammered on the way home, Nigel.
Did he?
All the way home.
What,
Nige.
Was he hard big guy, Nigel?
No, he little pot belly, didn't he? He didn't like doing weights or nothing like that. No, he just got on with it. But I'll tell you what, when he got in that football field, he was 8 out of 10 every week.
See with Keelan, you were obviously playing in front of him, could you always hear him arguing?
Martin was a nutter.
Was he?
Yeah.
Can you give us an example?
No, he's just a lunatic on the pitch, wasn't he? If you ask any centre forward, you do loads of these podcasts, if you say who's the hardest character as a centre forward, you're asking centre forwards who's the hardest player you played against. A lot of them will say Martin Keown.
Would you be like?
I'm talking about Mark Hughes, Shearer, all them sort of guys. They didn't want to play against. Martin's like a rash. He's like, and people used to wind him up though. People like Teddy Sheringham, let him have the ball, we give it back to us and all that. And Martin want to kill him. Then he's like proper. But
would you and Martin ever go at each other on the pitch?
No, not really. No, Martin was he was 100%. And I'll tell you now, if you was going to war, you want him next to you in the trenches.
Yeah.
Because he'd never run away. He'd always be there to the end. He's one of them sort of characters who'd give his all to the end. And sometimes it wasn't good enough, don't get me wrong, and he'd make mistakes, but he was 100% every single game.
Did Wenger improve guys like him technically as well?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, he'd play up from the back a little bit more, because a lot of it was, bomb. But yeah, I mean, Martin was great. The back four was brilliant. I mean, Nigel, Boldy, Dixon. But Boldy was probably the most underrated player.
Steve Bold, does he?
Yeah. He got one England cap. Great player.
Terms of what? Technically good?
No, just a good all-round defender. But he didn't get. There was so many good centre halves in England at the time. You had Pallister, you had Butcher at the time. Adams was well in front of Boldy, so he didn't really get as many opportunities in the England team. But he was a good player.
You said Boldy was the best drinker as well.
Great drinker.
What? Never got drunk, like? Could drink
he
for
got drunk, but he knew what he's doing.
Yeah,
I mean, he knew exactly when he's had enough and wouldn't fall over, wouldn't make a scene about. He'd just be. Yeah.
This was on. I can't remember the podcast it was with. Because somebody was saying Man City and Liverpool was one of the biggest rivalries in English football because of the standard, but it doesn't go near Man United and Arsenal because, I mean, the quality of Man City and Liverpool right there, Man United and Arsenal were also there, the quality.
Man United, Liverpool as well.
But there was a hatred there as well. I mean, maybe hatred's a bit strong, but...
I would say so. It seemed like Ferguson and Wenger hated each other.
Well, what Sir Alex Ferguson did, whoever was their biggest rival...
Mind games,
and he was trying to upset you. After Arsenal went downhill a little bit, who come on the scene? Jose Mourinho. Chelsea now, they was the ones who were going to compete with Man United, and it was exactly the same there as well. But yeah, it was rivalry, of course it was. Over the years, you go back to, I think it was 89 when there was a 22-man brawl at Old Trafford. And the only ones who weren't involved was, I think, Dave Seaman or whoever it was in goal. John Lukis maybe, who might have been, I can't remember who was in goal now. But the rivalry's always been there. But he stepped up a notch when Wenger come in. He was there when George Graham was there, no doubt about that, because there was good mates, George Graham and Sir Alex, both being Scottish and whatever. That's when the only time I saw George really drunk getting on the bus on the way home.
What was
George, he would go and see Sir Alex Ferguson and he'd go, right, everyone on the bus at 6 o'clock, so we'd try and knock 3 pints back in the Man United players out as quick as we could. And it'd be a rush to get out of the showers and quickly get in there. And then George would come in about, on the bus about 6:30 usually. And he staggered up the stairs of the bus. He couldn't walk. Where Ferguson's had him on the old whiskies and all that, all the whiskies. And he used to fall asleep at the front, George. And then some of the lads had a stash of beer at the back.
That's incredible.
And that's when it all come out. You know what I mean? Because George was asleep down the front. He couldn't see what was going on.
We need to bring these days back, didn't we? We need to bring the good days back.
But George, but there was a rivalry there as well between But then Wenger come in, didn't he? And he was very clever, Wenger. He knew how to wind Ferguson up at times.
Did he?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think Jose Mourinho knew how to wind both of them up.
He had.
Wenger and Sir Alex.
Would Wenger speak about Ferguson to you?
No, to be fair, everybody knew it was a big game because I'm just looking at a Man United team. That was brilliant. I mean, there was a mile above everybody at that time.
Was that the hardest team you played against?
Oh, all day long, yeah.
What was so good
I'm
about
not being
them?
rude to Spurs, and Spurs is a totally different game now, but that wasn't a big game for us. I mean, it was a North London derby. It was big for the fans, but usually you knew you beat Tottenham in my era.
Mm-hmm.
Man United was the one. If you got 4 points home and away against Man United, you had got a chance to win the league, and that's how we looked at it. But
would he prepare differently for Man United?
no, not really.
No.
No. But the players knew what was at stake. You know, I mean, we've had some massive battles, haven't we, over the years? I mean, going back to the 0-2 when we won the league there, but when you go at 98 was a 3-2. I can't remember when we beat them 1-0 away. That's how we won the league that year.
Was it Wilton?
Remember that?
No, that was 2-0-2. This was Overmars, 1998.
Oh,
Anelka flick on.
Neville, didn't it?
We won 1-0 and then we went on a run of 10 games unbeaten. Or we won 10 games in a row, sorry. That won us the league that year. So the rivalry was there and he knew he was a big challenge, Arsenal. Then 2-0-2, obviously, going to Old Trafford to win the league. Imagine Sir Alex Ferguson saying, don't let these cockneys beat us in Old Trafford. And then obviously the big one, 0-4, the Invincible season when...
That's amazing.
We all lost the plot a little bit at the end of the game against Van Nistelrooy. And you look back at it and you do regret it a little bit. It was a little bit out of order.
Fuck it, it was
it was a little bit out of order.
So were you on the pitch for the penalty?
Yeah. I got a 10 grand fine for that.
Did you?
Yeah, Martin got more than me because he started it, as usual. Lauren got fined and Ashley Cole got fined. So...
Who's Lauren, your bird?
Who?
Lauren, is that your bird?
Lauren.
Oh, the right back one.
Lauren.
I call him Lauren.
Was he a good player?
Yeah, very good.
Was he?
Underrated, very underrated.
See the Man United, was there personal duels in that as well? So you obviously played right mid, could you hear Vieira and Keane going at it throughout the game?
Yeah, you kick anyone near you, really. I mean, he's one of them where I'm sure after the games, the physios were going, right, what have you done? I've got, I need an ice pack for that ankle, that knee. And they'd be the same in that dressing room because you really was committed and, you knew it was a massive, massive game in the season. And that was a vital miss for Van Nistelrooy because you know what happened after that. We went unbeaten.
Yeah.
And that was in September. He missed that penalty. So if he scores that, we can't come back from that. It's 89th minute, 90th minute. We lose the game and we don't go unbeaten. But that's how fine lines it was between Arsenal and Man United. You go back to the semi-final, 99. Bergkamp misses a penalty against Michael. Ryan Giggs scores the one goal. They end up going to win the treble that year. So we should have been probably beating them with that penalty kick. If Bergkamp puts in the other corner, we go to the final. Possibly we could have won a double then. So that's how fine lines it was between Arsenal and Man United.
Who was your best player?
Their best player, Roy Keane, was very important for Manchester United. He bossed everyone around, but there's so many good players. Giggs was unbelievable on the left. Beckham was totally different because he'd get out of his feet, whip it in. He wouldn't go past the player. He didn't need to. He just cross it. Scholesy, he'd ping balls all over the place and score you a goal from midfield. All over the pitch, they had quality, and there was a top side.
They won the league.
But see, just before that, I'm just going to go back into the mind games here quickly. Remember he scrambled with Kevin Keegan seed, didn't he?
He done him, yeah.
But did you ever see, later on, I know you said Wenger was really clever about it, but did you ever see sort of later on that in training you could see Wenger was affected by it?
Not in my era. I left 204, so I left on a high.
Because it did seem like
I reckon probably it did on the latter stages of his career, or right halfway through when he was struggling.
He was up in the crowd.
A little bit jaded, yeah. He looked a bit, a little bit lost. Because what he lost when the older generation left was the dressing room. He had to start dealing with people. He had to start, if you weren't doing your job, he had to tell the person he's not doing his job. Where probably in my era, it was a little bit more, the players would do it. So if you weren't doing your job, I'd go, what are you doing? Right. Tony Adams would have a go at me. What are you doing? You're affecting my game here. And we're sorted out between us. And Wenger wasn't that sort of character. And I think that's how he lost his way a little bit towards the end of his reign at Arsenal. But you can't argue with the record he had. To win 7 FA Cups and Premier Leagues.
First title secured against Everton home, I remember it, Tony Adams scored, didn't he?
Yeah, that's my favourite goal ever.
Left foot,
because he could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Usually in training, that would end up with Rose Head or, over the fence somewhere in the field. But he just caught it.
He just stands, doesn't he, like that?
Yeah, and that's his statue outside the stadium. So
incredible.
And obviously Tony, with what he went through, he had a really dodgy part of that season as well. I think he missed a few games mid through it with injury, but he come back and to score that goal was amazing. I mean, that was, and it wasn't Nigel Whitterburn that set him up. Who set him up? We've been talking about him earlier.
Pat Rice.
Steve Bold.
Did he?
Steve Bold set him up.
One centre back to the other.
Yeah, to the other centre back. That's the amazing part of the goal. He just used to maraud past you sometimes, Tony. Go, where's he going? He run past you as a midfielder. But every now and again, he'd done it probably twice a game. But on this occasion, he got it right and got it out of his feet and whang, 4-1.
That must be a proud moment for you, obviously. First title with the club.
Unbelievable.
You've been it since you were a kid.
It was rocking. I mean,
talk us through that full day.
I thought the North Bank was going to fall down. It was like bouncing. It's like people in this North Bank area. And the day was just a normal day. That's why Wenger was very good. We knew we knew he just brought everyone back down to earth and say, look, it's another game. Let's get out there and do what we've been doing. Because sometimes you can overthink games and you can overthink situations. And I wasn't like that. That's why he picked me for most big games, because I was a bit blasé about it. That's another game, just get out there and play. Especially when I got more experience. Maybe not when I was 20, when I had a nightmare in the FA Cup. But as I got more experience, I just treated every game as the same, whether you're playing Barnsley away or Tottenham in a cup final. You know what I mean? You try and approach it exactly the way, and don't try and think about it too much. Because if you start thinking about, I'm going to let him down, let my family down if I have a nightmare, you will have a nightmare. And that's how I approach most games, and lucky enough, touch wood, it was good.
The dad came to that game, he never went to West Ham that day, did he?
No, he always went to cup finals. And I remember him crying. When I scored in the cup final, he had tears in his eyes, because he knew he brought us up to watch cup finals on the sofa. And, to see my dad, my brother said he had tears running down his face, because
that's the best
to see his boy scoring a cup final, where he knew it was such a big thing in our family growing up. And as a little 6-7-year-old sitting on the settee having me orange juice, he thought, well, now he's scored an FA Cup final. And he was amazed, like, I've just scored, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that's the sort of memories you stick. My dad's passed away now, but that would always stick in my mind, that he watched me score in a cup final, which would have made his day, I promise you.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So Ray, the double was complete. Beat Newcastle, FA Cup final. Was that the greatest party you've ever had?
I remember getting on the bus absolutely hammered, because we had to take the trophy around North London the next day, which was a very proud moment. That was amazing.
Was it packed?
250,000 people,
wow,
all around the streets.
Yeah.
We ended up at Islington Town.
My dad was there that time. Genuinely,
was
he was working in London for a while.
Yeah, 97, 98 was amazing, because that was the first time we really cracked it from to win a double under Wenger as well. First season. We went out, yeah. I mean, Newcastle was a tough game. There's some great players, the late Gary Speed, Shearer, David Batty in midfield. Stuart Pearce was against me on the right hand side. He was hard as nails.
Was tough to play against me, didn't he?
He'd go through you. He was getting to the later stages of his career, but what a player he was, Stuart Pearce. But to win a cup final, again, 98, and I had a really good game this time, because I was always thinking about the 93 game a little bit in the back of my mind, saying I had a nightmare in that one.
Right.
And this was like, obviously, 5 years later, so you're a little bit more experienced. But I had a blinder. I got man of the match, which amazing achievement. And I think that season for me was the best season I had at Arsenal, because I got player of the season. And to get on that, there's a big plaque where you got some magnificent names on it. Liam Brady back in the day, Tony Adams, late Dave Rocastle one season, Bergkamp. To get on that plaque, to be player of the season, to win the double was that is an unbelievable achievement. That's probably better than having me medals, if I'm being honest.
How was it? What was an Arsene Wenger team talk like before big games like that?
Did he say nothing?
No. So would he just come in?
This is what usually would happen. So we will have a walk in the mornings, cup final. No, any other day. Sorry, any game right? Away from home. Then we'll have a stretching routine for about 15 minutes before our dinner or our lunch, and then we'll have our lunch at 11:30. And then we'll all go back to our rooms, get prepared, have a shower, get your tracksuit on or whatever. Meeting at 1 o'clock. In a room, and he's got his flip chart. When he go through the team, you go through their team. Right, this is where they're a bit weak. We can get at them. You do this, do that. But most of the work was done Monday to Friday in training grounds. But then he'd just fine-tune it sort of bit. Yeah, fine-tune it a little bit. And then we'd jump on a coach, straight to the game, and then we didn't see Wenger. He'd go missing. He'd go missing.
So there'd be no motivational,
he might go to
there'd be no motivational speeches, nothing like that?
No, he'd go director's box, he'd go and have a chat with all the directors, and then he'd come back in the dressing room 5 minutes before kick-off. And he'd say, right, come on, we all know what to do. Off you go. Yeah, that was it.
Would the players stand up and speak or say?
Oh yeah, the players would be shouting, come on, lads, big game today. Come on, let's get out there, and you know your jobs. Don't let get out there. And Wenger didn't say a lot. Even half time didn't say a lot. He'd come in, recover, then we have a glass of water or a bottle of water, and then he'd say something 3 minutes before we're going to go out again.
That's it.
He just let you recover, and he's all quiet. There's certain players that have a go at each other. Who's losing? What are you doing with the goal? And he'd just let you get on with that.
That's incredible.
Yeah. See if you were having a shock in the first half, he would never come in and sort of go through you.
No. There's certain players you can't have a go at. I mean, I remember Pat Rice coming in and having a go at Robert Perez because he pulled out of a tackle. And Pat Rice's era, you can't pull out a tackle.
Yeah.
Not with an Arsenal shirt on. But you can't have a go at Robert Perez because he'd go in his shell and he'd go missing. And he was having a go, and Wenger, shut up, Pat. Well done, Robert. Keep getting the ball. Keep moving. But he could still win you the game. He could still win you the game. He could still do something in the second half, set you up a goal, get you back in the game. And I think we even went on to probably get back and win the game 3-2.
What about after the game, Ray? Would he say, well done, lads, and that was it? Or
no, he just would say nothing. He wouldn't say a lot. He
won
wouldn't
all
say a
the
lot.
trophies, not saying much.
But then we'll have a meeting on a Monday.
And you go through it.
Yeah, and then he'd go through, especially if we lost. He'd go through everything. He'd watch the game 20 times over the weekend.
Right.
And look at everybody's position, who wasn't doing their jobs, who wasn't doing enough in the game. And then now you're all Monday. So and in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Then you might have certain arguments with other players and whatever. But that's how he liked it. So he knows, in the back of his mind, he's seen everything. And he knows exactly what's gone wrong.
So he's got proof to back up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he can't. Sometimes you can jump, as I said before, you can jump down someone's throat and it might not be their fault. Yeah. So he was very good at that.
Right, and then it gets serious, mate. The players that come in
the king arrives, Thierry Henry.
Did you ever see Henry play for Monaco?
No.
He played, I think it was it Man United in the Champions League once?
I never seen
He played left wing for Monaco. He was outstanding.
For the first 7 games, he wasn't for Arsenal. He
couldn't
hit a Ballon d'Or. He didn't score for 7 games.
And was he the same in training? Was he the same in training?
Oh, he wasn't. We just lost Anelka, by the way. So Anelka was on fire at that time.
What a bombshell this is.
We was gutted when Anelka left. A massive bombshell. Because he could have been exactly the same as Henry. Whether he'd been as good, I don't know. But he could have been similar sort of standard, if you know what I mean.
So at this point you were thinking...
Well, he was left winger, wasn't he, for Juventus? So we didn't really know he's going to be an out-and-out striker. But Wenger, again, using his brain, he had him at Monaco, knew he could play centre forward. Just like Anelka, very similar frame, 6'2", perfect build, athlete. And he knew he could lead the line at Arsenal. But the first 6-7 games, he was nervous. Only a young lad as well, coming in. But once he got his first goal, it all changed. So much belief, confidence. I think he scored at Southampton, Dell. We won 3-1, and you could see the difference in training then. He got a little bit more confident, and then he scored another one the following week, and then all of a sudden, he didn't look back. He was unbelievable.
Was he a quiet guy?
No, Thierry was good as gold. He loved the bat. Yeah, he'd give it to people who weren't doing their jobs, and he's very passionate. He's very passionate about winning games, and yeah, he was a leader. I mean, he was a good leader in that dressing room.
See, for all the amazing players that he's had, was he a level above everyone else?
If he wasn't doing his job, people put him in his place as well, and he knew that, and he liked that. But by the way, he liked being saying, right, I'm going to respond to you and whatever. But he was different class. He developed into an amazing player. At the start of his career, it wasn't great, but he improved like I did probably under Wenger. Wenger improved him unbelievably. I mean, day-to-day in training and technique, and the way he used to pass the ball into net in the end, didn't he? He used to open his body out, right foot. And he was an unbelievable striker. 1-on-1, very rarely missed because you knew exactly what he was going to do. Just pass it into that far corner, and he always played off the left-hand side, didn't he?
Yeah, drifted to that.
But great player. I mean, I thought no one would beat Ian Wright's record. No one, and he beat it by 50 goals, I think it was. So
would Henry ever challenge Wenger in the dressing room if he wasn't happy with certain things? Because he did become so big.
A lot of it was behind the scenes. So Wenger was very good with personal stuff as well. If you had any problems, he would always try and do the best for you. I mean, you can go and see him one-on-one and say, boss, I've got a bit of a problem, what do you think? And give advice, really. He was like a father figure for all the French lads, Wenger. And Henri could go and see him whenever he wanted and talk to him about his form or what do you think, boss? And Wenger would just give him his honest opinion, what he thinks, being a person, and he was very good like that, Wenger. Very good.
Was he saying?
And that's why they stay so long, the French guys. Vieira was there 10 years. Henri was there for 10 plus years. Bergkamp 10 plus. No one really left because they enjoyed probably working under Wenger.
Could you do the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course you could. Yeah. I remember a great story when he came in one day. He was taking a mick out of me, really, Wenger. And he had a very good humorous side to him. And I just got divorced, and in the papers, it said my ex-wife tried to save my career by not letting me go out all the time and do this, do that. That's why she got so much money. Right? So Wenger's going around, he's gone, because in the medical room, everybody's getting strap-ins in the morning of training, there's packed in there. That's where people used to congregate and have a chat and whatever. So Wenger comes in and he goes around all the injuries. Oh, how you doing? I hope you're well. So he goes around, comes to me. Ray, hey, all right, boss. He went, Ray, I've just read the newspaper. Bad news. Your wife got lots of money for saving your career, she said. And he all went quiet, right? So I went, yes, boss, bit of a nightmare, really. He went, I saved your career, where's my money? And he walked off laughing. And the lads all started laughing. But that's what you needed sometimes. He loves you having a laugh.
So you like
he's very serious on the training field. You had to do exactly what he told you and bang, bang. But off the training field, he wants you to go in the canteen and muck about, throw a cake in a chef's face and things like that. He used to love all that.
Mate, another massive player comes in, Sol Campbell.
Yeah, Sol.
Was that unheard at the time?
I couldn't believe it. I was amazed.
So where did you first read about this? Papers? Pal?
Yeah, it was
agents?
papers. No, papers. And Sol, I mean, I'd never thought he'd come to Arsenal. I'm not being disrespectful for Spurs, but I'd never have gone to Spurs, coming through the ranks at Arsenal. And probably the way he did it as well, because he looked like he was going to Barcelona and he went on a free transfer to local rivals, which is unheard of, really. But Sol, to be fair to Sol, he said at that time he wanted to live in London and Arsenal were the best team.
Best team, aye.
If it was Chelsea, he would have gone Chelsea.
Yeah.
There was nothing against, he went there for the sake of, because he's against Tottenham. But Sol, what a player.
Oh, I mean, top player, wasn't he?
He was just a stopper. He was all right on the ball, but he was a great defender.
Did you all wind him up, Ray? The players when he signed, did you all wind him up?
Oh yeah, I said, can't believe what are you doing? You know what I mean? And when he wanted to be mayor of London, I said, why don't you go down to Tottenham High Road and get Sol Campbell? I mean, he might have got a few petrol bombs thrown at his thing, but and the worst game I've ever played, I played some of the North London derbies, and they're all feisty. You always get a bit of stick and whatever. But the worst one was Sol Campbell's first game back at White Lane. My God,
was that the one?
It was like Beirut. I mean, I've never seen nothing like it. It was unbelievable. I mean, you see the hatred, and then he went through someone like I think Teddy or someone playing for Tottenham. First 5 minutes, he'd done them from behind, took a 240 tackle, and the crowd thought it was gonna be a riot. I was like, oh no, this is gonna get so nasty. And after the game, it was funny because we was all on the coach, and all the police were on their coach because the old stadium, it was like a T-junction. Rudolph's on the right-hand side. You had to do a quick left, but usually stop there and then go left. Police were going, no, don't stop the coach. We'll stop the road, go round there as quick as you can, and you're going to get some missiles thrown and whatever. So I always remember, and this is where Wenger was funny. He went, I went, boss, I've got an idea. And it all went quiet. I went, so why don't we get a big sign on the window, because it's tinted windows, but you could just see through them. Sol sits here, at least they can get the right window. And Wenger was like, yes, Ray, good idea. We got a big sign on the window, Sol's going to leave off. And we went round this bend, I've never seen bottles, and we had a load of plates in the back. And it all comes crashing out. We thought the window had gone through, but it was the plates where we had our dinner on a coach on the way home. They all come out because he went round so quick.
Quite great.
Oh, mate, and that was, I've never seen an atmosphere like that.
Is that the most intimidating atmosphere you played in?
Well, I played in Galatasaray and people like...
what was Galatasaray?
Greece are mad as well. Greece, Panathinaikos, they got the big bars up still, thank God they have. I mean, they're going mad. All flares and all that, you know what I mean? But that was intimidating. But for England's point of view, Millwall was always intimidating.
Yeah.
The old den and
have
all
you
that.
played there, Millwall?
Millwall's wild, mate, isn't it? Oh,
is it horrible?
Oh, it's grown men, it's no wee kids, mate.
Yeah. So all them sort of places are. But Tottenham that day was, I've never seen an atmosphere like that.
See all these players that they've brought in, why do you think you were kept? Why were you never replaced? Because you played every week under Wenger, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, you've got to ask Wenger that. He seemed...
Do you think the personality had a lot to do with it?
I've always done my job in the team. I was always like a steady player. I was consistent. I hate players. If I was a manager, I hate players getting 9 out of 10 and then getting 4 out of 10. I'd rather someone 7 or 8 every week.
Yeah.
Just do their jobs, get on with it. And then, you know, I think that's probably the reason he picked me. And it's quite funny. I said to him, boss, you realise I've got the Premier League all-appearance record at Arsenal Football Club. And he went, you owe me a big favour for that. And that's what Wenger would say to you and laugh. I mean, but I didn't believe I had it. And someone told me about it. I went, are you sure? I thought Davy Seaman or someone like that. He went, no, you've got it. So,
how many?
333 Premier League games.
That's
so that will be beaten, hopefully, by someone like Saka if they stay. But you've got to stay for a long period, like 12, 13 years, playing every week, Port Mollis.
333. Did Wenger ever drop you for a big game?
Yeah, he has done, yeah. He dropped me certain games. He dropped me once. To be fair, what happened? I butted the bar, I think. I was out one night. And I ended up getting a black eye. And I tried to say that I opened the door and hit me in the face, but I've been out. And I remember being, I'll tell you where it was, it's Cafe de Paris it was. And they had this like wire, young Frank Lampard was with me. He was out with his mate and whatever. And he had the wire seats. And as I tried to get off the seat to go to the toilet, I got my leg stuck in the wire. And I've gone forward and I've headbutted the bar. And I had stitches in the end, 6 stitches in my eye. And I tried to say it wasn't. We had a day off the next day, but then I got a black eye. And he found out about it and he dropped me for 2 games, I think it was.
Incredible.
But he didn't fine me. He should have fined me, really.
I think he loved you, Wenger. I've got a wee feeling he loved you.
No, he didn't fine people. He was that sort of guy.
He wouldn't take money off you?
He would warn you, if you do that again, then you'll be in big trouble. Yeah.
You won the league that year, dominated the 01-02 season, didn't you?
Yeah.
See, at that point when you win that league and you've got the quality of players you've got in, you've got Wenger and it's looking like top manager, do you think you're going to go and dominate for years?
Yeah. If you keep everyone together. But again, people are aging as well. I mean, you had Tony Adams, he retired 02, so he was a player they're going to lose. Lee Dixon was still there. I think he went after that season as well. I know Lorraine was playing probably, and Ashley Cole was left back. Then obviously Ashley left, didn't he, after a few more seasons. And people were aging a little bit, you know.
It's weird when you think back to that team though, because you think of that, you're thinking of Henry's, Vieira's, but see when your guys like Tony Adams that leave, maybe that was it kind of, they were the heart and soul of that
David
club.
Seaman left the following year, but Jens Lehmann come in, who was a great goalkeeper as well. But yeah, that 02 season was really weird because we played the cup final and then 3 or 4 days later we were playing Old Trafford to win a double.
Wow.
Where FA Cup final was always the last game of the season, usually.
How did that?
But we had 2 games left after the cup final. I don't know how that worked out. I don't know why, but that's how we played. And so we went to Old Trafford 4 days later and managed to get the result what we needed. 1-0, and we had no Henry, no Bergkamp.
Have you heard the story about him after he scored his double at Wembley?
No.
Tell it.
What's that one?
The one where he told you, please, Ray, don't go out.
Oh, that was on the plane on the way home, yeah.
So you scored a double in the FA Cup?
I had a beer on the plane, because you're buzzing, just scored in a cup final. But I'm playing 4 or 5 days later, so I thought that's all right, we have a few beers, no problem. So I remember having a beer on the plane, and then Wenger seen me. Ray, what are you doing? Boss, I'm just having a beer. No drinking. Big game Wednesday at Old Trafford. So I went, boss, it's Saturday, I'll be fine by Wednesday. So I went to the back of the plane where my mum and dad, my brothers were there, my brother Jimmy. I said, Jim, get one of your beers. So I'm sitting with all the families now. Wenger's walked all the way down the plane. If I see you drinking once more, 2 weeks' wages fine in front of everybody. So I went, oh, I don't really want that, Jim. I'd better go back to the front. And so I got off the plane. I had a restaurant booked. Win or lose, I just started dating a new girl. I just got divorced and obviously I was starting out with someone else. And we had a table booked for 2. And as I walked in, I always remember the guy had put a big bottle of champagne on my table because he was an Arsenal fan. He went, well done today, Ray, brilliant goal. I thought you'd buy you a bottle of champagne. I said, oh, okay. And I looked at the girl and said, should we have a couple of drinks? I don't mind. Okay, yeah, let's have a couple. You know what it's like. Everyone's congratulating you. I'm getting far too above myself now, thinking, oh yeah, another bottle. Next minute we're doing shots and tequila slammers. And I remember falling over the bar, up a table, walking out. I was so drunk because you're dehydrated anyway from the game. you should be drinking water. I'm drinking champagne. So I go training next morning. Wenger's nowhere to be seen. He's on the training field. Thank God for that, because he would have fired me, definite. So I laid on the mat. Everyone's doing a warm down. So I go home to my mum and dad's house, and I stop my local social club, which I told you about earlier, which was outside. I walk in, everybody is backing me first goal scorer because I'm local, and one of them guys had 2-0 Arsenal, me first goal scorer, 125-1 or something like that. So they go, get me a drink. I said, lads, I can't drink today. I've got a big game Wednesday. I'll have one beer, I'm going. Pint of Guinness it was. And I end up, it's like 7 pints later, I'm still in the bloody bar. I've had a nightmare here. So my mum's fuming. I don't turn up for her dinner. Mum, I can't make it now. I'm going to go home now. So Monday, water, non-stop, bottles of it. Bottles. I'm trying to get out of my system. Get to Wednesday, Old Trafford, I have a blinder. So we win the game 1-0. So now I'm saying to all the lads, right, we're all going out tonight. China White's in London. I've organised it all. Even Dennis, I'm coming out. He wasn't playing that game. So I'm walking up the tunnel, Old Trafford, Sky Sports. Can we have a word with you, Ray? Why's that? You got man of the match. I said, oh, what a week I've had here. Unbelievable. So I've done my big speech saying, look, with no Burkamp, no Henry, we've got Will Tour, the Carnu, who've been brilliant today. Will Tour got the only goal of the game. And I got a big bottle of champagne for being man of the match. That's what you got back in the day. So I walk in the dressing room, get in there, lads. We can have this on the bus on the way home. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, Wenger, he went, I want a word with you. So I was like, I'm thinking, definitely 2 weeks' wages fine, definite. Because he's found out that I've been out, something like that. Someone's told him, one of the staff, I don't know. He looked at me and went, you was fantastic tonight. Brilliant performance, one of the best performances all the season. I said, boss, what a week I've had. Scoring a cup final, get man match at Old Trafford, unbelievable. And he used to always look round, he went like that. And he went, do you know what it was? I said, no, boss, I stopped you drinking that beer on that plane. So he ain't that good, is he? So when I went back, I was thinking, oh, I can't believe this. Yes, boss, you're the best manager I've ever had. And that's how and we ended up going out that night in China Whites. We had such a great
Full
night.
team China Whites?
Yeah, everybody in their tracksuits. We all got the plane back to the training ground. Bob Wilson was there. Pat Rice was there. All the guys had got back earlier, and they had all champagne set out for all the lads.
Oh, amazing.
And then we just kicked on from there. The coach waited for us to have a drink at the training ground. This is like 11:30 in the morning. And then we all kicked on the back of the coach. Everyone was China Whites.
You ended up tucking me Pat Rice in that night.
He was there. I got him in for you.
He was miles after that night.
Nigel weren't there. Nigel weren't there.
No, I went above this talk.
Nigel weren't there.
Did Wenger go it?
No, he would have gone out.
No, I don't understand.
The managers don't mix with players. If I was a manager, I knew my players. I'm not going to go out with you for a night out.
Yeah.
You just don't do what you got to do.
We've skipped past the fact that he scored 2 goals in the FA Cup final.
We'll just have it.
No, only one.
Oh, but it was an absolute belter, wasn't it?
Yeah, first goal.
Screamer, absolutely.
Freddie Lundberg scored.
What happened again?
Right foot, and I remember it bent at the top corner.
Brilliant.
Bit like that machine we had today.
Yeah, talk us through it. So who does the ball land to you? What's going through your head at the time?
Chelsea were a good team then.
Yeah.
I'm marking Petit, Mike's teammate. He went to Chelsea. At Lampard and Petit in midfield, me and Patrick in central. And it was Wiltord who picked the ball up, pull it into... And you know when everyone keeps backing off? And they're probably saying, oh, look, I wasn't a prolific goal scorer from midfield like Lampard was. And you had a couple of runners from the left-hand side was Henry, and maybe Wiltord, I think it was at the time. And I think they tracked him, and Desai and he sort of kept backing off, and I was like 25 yards out, and I thought, what? Got it at your feet, and all you got to do is get the right bend. You could do it in training all the time, but in a cup final, you only get one chance to do it. In training, you might have 4 or 5 goes, and yeah, we cracked it now. We know, you got it. And lucky enough, just got the right.
Did you know straight away?
Oh yeah, when it leaves your foot, you connected perfectly how you wanted to. Then it's down to the keeper. Whether it's high enough, that's the big deal with it. And he got fingertips to it. It's like fingertips. But lucky enough, bang, shot corner.
Best feeling you've had?
Well, it's in front of the Arsenal end. And if you ever saw the Millennium Stadium back in the day, it was a great stadium.
Cardiff, that.
I mean, Wembley was great. Wembley, you can't beat playing at Wembley Stadium, but when that was getting built, the new stadium at Wembley, that Millennium Stadium was electric. I mean, and if you've got pictures of it, you got everyone's in red that end, everyone's in blue that end, and the atmosphere was, because it's a London derby as well. And when it hit the back of the net, I've never seen. Oh, it was unbelievable. And then Freddie scored a great goal on Lundberg to make it 2-0. very similar goal. John Terry got fast and he bent it. Great goal as well, Freddie. And, you know, but you're still thinking, right, we beat Chelsea, but we got to play Man United on Wednesday.
Yeah. So was that the game your dad was crying?
Yeah, when he scored, yeah.
And did you see him right after the game?
Oh, yeah, he was buzzing. I mean, we used to see your families after the game in the Players' Lounge or whatever. They go in now. Or even you know, back at the... we used to have a big party after the Cup Final. So you'll have it at the hotel where all the families go back. We'd come back later because we were getting changed and all that, but all the families would go back and have a big Sotwell House usually in St Albans.
Oh, brilliant. There was a guy who piped up though, Tim Lovejoy.
Oh, yeah.
Did that annoy you?
He's probably right, if I'm being honest. Yeah, better players than me on the pitch.
Would you see after that? So he's obviously said the line about it's only Ray Parlour. Would you contact him and say, well, that's what you get?
Funny enough, Ian Poulter's my good mate, and he was going on his stag do. So he's getting married, and Tim Lovejoy was invited to his stag do, and he went. Wow. So I was there as well, and I knew he was going, so I took a poster, because we made some posters of me. Wiltor scored in the Man United game, and me in the Cup Final to make it a double. This is for Bob Wilson's charity at the time. So I took a poster to Tim, it's only Ray Parlour, and I give it to him.
Brilliant.
And he looked at it and went, oh, fuck's sake.
Was he all right?
But, yeah, it was good goal. You know, it's no big deal, is it?
Would that be your favourite season?
That's a bit of banter, isn't it?
No, that's what it's all about.
That's what Bradley Walsh, I still see Bradley every now and again, he said that was the best day I've ever had because of what happened in that comment, because he was doing the commentary for Arsenal. Because they had the fan zone back in the day, didn't they?
Oh, Bradley Walsh, your guy does the chase?
Yeah, so Bradley was on Arsenal, we had the Arsenal shirt on, and obviously Tim Lovejoy was doing Chelsea. Okay. And Bradley said, after he said that, and you put it in the top corner, that was
amazing. He must have been buzzing.
Oh, unbelievable.
Right, we're nearly there, right, but Invincible season.
Invincible season, one of the best teams in the history of football. But was that your last season at Arsenal?
Yeah, it was my last season.
Did you have an idea in the summer going into that season that it was going to be your last season?
No, you want to try and stay as long as you can, but you still want to play football though. See, I got a massive buzz of playing the weekends. I mean, I put the training in every single day, and, you know, the effort in and whatever. But it's nothing worse. As you get older, it gets a little bit harder to play every single week. But it's nothing worse sitting in the stands and watching football. You know, when you know you've been used to all your life to play on a Saturday. That's where your buzz. When you're walking down that tunnel, walking on the pitch, and all the fans start cheering, you won't get a bigger buzz. No. You probably miss it today. I miss that, you know, that factor today. You don't miss certain bits in football, but you certainly miss the game day when you walk out. And so my situation was I probably played quite a few games that season, 20 odd games, 25 games, but it was a little bit coming off the bench at times and whatever. So we won the Invincible season, and then I went, and we had a young player coming through at the time, Fabregas. What a player.
Wow.
And I always remember Wenger, again, using his joking, humorous side. And I said to Boss, Boss, this kid Fabregas coming through, he's going to be some player, by the way. He went, Ray, he's going to take your position. And I laughed, and he laughed, and that's the sort of relationship we had. Mm-hmm. But I said, Boss, if I do leave, make sure he gets my shirt. And he went, I promise you now, if you do leave, I don't want you to leave, but you're not going to play, you're going to play 15 games next year. And I went, 15, I'm 32, I've only got 2 more years left in my career, because my knee was knackered anyway. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, what do I do now, really? And plus I just got divorced. I thought I might do me a favour getting out of the area. Because everywhere I went, it was all about my divorce. It got boring in the end for me. But up north, they didn't care less about my divorce. And I thought, I don't mind a change. And Middlesbrough at the time, they had some team.
Going for it, weren't they?
They had some team.
But looking back now, do you regret that decision?
You should never regret anything. You should never regret any football. There's a reason why I did it. And it's, you know, you could stick. But if I'm going to regret something, I'd love to play 500 games for Arsenal. I played 466 in the end. If I stayed one more season, maybe I could have got there. Maybe, you know, playing in the League Cup and all that sort of, because you've played in the League Cup most games. So you regret that a little bit, because you'd love to be in that 500 club. You know, there's not many players who can play 500 times for a club, any club. So probably looking back, but the medals I've won, I've been so lucky. I mean, players I played with, very lucky. So I can't have no regrets in that situation.
That Invincible season will never happen again, right? And there's been amazing teams in the Premier League.
I have a big part every year when it doesn't.
And there's been some amazing teams in the Premier League. So what did that team have that others haven't?
Look, there was a lot of draws. Don't get me wrong. Man City went 100 points, didn't they? So I think Arsenal got 26 wins, 12 draws, wasn't it? So about 90 points. But one thing about that team was you had lots of people who would make an impact off the bench. You could, if certain key injuries like Bergkamp, you had players to come in and do a similar job, not as good as Dennis Bergkamp because he was a top player, but a similar sort of job as Dennis Bergkamp. And they never knew when they was beaten. The team, the way every day in training, you could see the desire of players really working hard. 8v8s was a nightmare for Arsene Wenger on a Friday. Because no one wanted to lose the 8v8, by the way. It was like proper tackles flying in and Wenger going, no, lads, we've got a big game tomorrow. But no one wanted to lose that 8v8. So if you put the 16 lads together, you know you've got an half a chance of winning.
Yeah.
And they never give up. And Wenger made some unbelievable changes at times. He played 4 up front. If we was 2-0 down, we'd either lose 4-0 or get back and we'll draw 2-2. And you've been Carnu on, Wiltor, and then you have Bergkamp, Wiltor, Carnu and Henry up front. So you had half a chance to get back in the game. You could easily concede another goal, but he just went for it.
Yeah.
And then once you got one goal back, the other team would crumble a little bit. They knew, oh no, and that's how. And you know, I think it was just the presence of the team as well. I mean, it was an unbelievable team, and no one thought they could do it. We didn't sit down at the start of the season saying, right, we're going to go invincible this year. The season before, Wenger said this team can go unbeaten. He said that. Yeah, he said that. And Martin had a go at him, said, you're putting too much pressure on us now. But he believed that it's not about 11 players on the pitch, it's about the squad he had. He had a really good, strong squad. But no one expected us to do it. And lucky enough, you know, we did do it. I mean, the last 4 games were the hardest. We won the league at White Hart Lane, 2-2 draw. Then we had Fulham, Birmingham, Portsmouth and Leicester. On paper, we should be no problem. Drew 2 and 1-2, and the last game we see 1-0 down to Leicester. He changed it in the second half again. We managed to get back in it 1-1, 2-1, 1-2-1, and yeah, as I said before, that'd be hard to do. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if someone did it again because we did it, and so it can be done. But it's an amazing achievement that you can because you always have one bad day at the office.
Yeah.
You get. I remember Liverpool nearly done it, and Watford beat them 3-0 at Vicarage Road. Probably 4 or 5 seasons ago, and they was flying. That's the only game they lost all season, and they went down Watford. So it just shows you a team in a relegation battle can beat you when you have an off day, and you've seen it, you know, with Man City and whatever. Whenever an off day, they usually get beat now.
Yeah,
do you not think it'll ever happen again?
Nah, never happen again.
I never say never, but I mean. Hopefully it don't. If I'm being selfish, because you know you'll always go down in history of being part of that team that went unbeaten.
At what point though was there a point in that scene you go, we could go unbeaten now?
Probably the press. 8 games to go, 10 games to go. We were still not beaten, and they start ramping it up more than we are. We never talked about it in training.
Do you think about it though going into games?
Nah, not at all.
Do you not?
You try and win the game,
regardless.
But you never talk about it in training ground. Around the training ground, it was never mentioned. Maybe when we won the league, that's a main priority, obviously, winning the league. And we had 4 games left, and they were vital.
And that's hard as well because you've won the league, you think, right, it's time to party.
In '98, we won the league, we lost 4-0 the next game to Liverpool. we ain't bothered though. But suddenly you've got to keep focused and keep it going. And do you imagine the 4 teams you're playing as well? They want to beat the champions and they want to stop the run, so they're the team that stopped us. And obviously, Arsenal went on to play 49 games, wasn't it?
Yeah,
unbeaten.
See, just on that again, just last wee bit on this, the Old Trafford, the Man United rivalry. Is that true? The Van Nistelrooy thing was because of the Vieira sending off earlier in the season? Is that why he's had the hump on?
Well, that would have been why we had the hump. Yeah. I mean, he got his sent off, and Patrick went mad, didn't he? Walking off, and it was just a big game. You know what I mean?
What was the Gary Neville thing as well?
Gary piped up, didn't he, in the midfield there? I don't know. I mean, everyone was pushing each other, and you know. But most of the Arsenal boys got fined. I don't think Man United boys got fined. We got fined. I think I got fined 10 grand. Martin probably got a little bit more than me. Lauren 5. I think Ashley Cole 5 grand. Which was a big hit. I was like, Mike, to be fair, Mike's wife.
You just got 10 grand for this.
No, I was paying Mike's wife 40% of my future income at the time. So he lost 6, he lost 4. So. He went as bad as you thought.
Brilliant. We're just going to do a tiny wee bit on Middlesbrough, a wee bit about your England, but just in terms of the Arsenal career, is that the best time of your life?
Oh, all day long, yeah. I mean, I was there as a young kid, wasn't I? So I was
was that a sad day? Were you
21 years old. I went. Well, my first game back at Highbury was Middlesbrough. I went into the home dressing room. I forgot I'm in the way in now, and I'm done. You know when you walk down the marble halls and you just automatically walk to the home dressing room, and it's just weird that you're in a different dressing room now.
So see, when you play that Leicester game on the last day of the season, is that your last day at the club, or is there a couple of days after where you go in and say bye to everyone?
I think we would have probably come in, a few of the lads, for like another day to just have a chat with everyone, and Wenger saying well done for the season and whatever. And then that would have been it. That was my last ever. That would have been it. You do your deal during the summer, and you won't go back. Well, you go back to watch them. I went to the 2005 Cup final as an Arsenal fan to hopefully they would beat Man United, which they did. So you're a fan really then.
Did you get one last day out with the boys?
I went to the party after the 05 Cup final at Sopwell House, yeah.
Oh, good,
so all the boys were there. Wenger was like having a drink with us, and that was good.
Oh, brilliant.
Must break your heart, that, wasn't it?
It must be a weird feeling driving away.
It's just what, you know, that's what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, you know, you can't stay at a football club for all your life, can you? A lot of people don't, and I was lucky to play there for 14 years, so... But
was that so hard, though, then, when you leave to adapt to another club, that you've been at Arsenal for so long?
The training method's totally different. It was weird because I've been used to really sharp training, and I went back to the George Graham era under, no disrespect to Steve McLaren, but it was a little bit longer. The concentration was going a little bit from the play, because I wasn't a player to say, we've done this for too long. No, because it's not my right. I've just walked into the club. You know, if Steve McLaren asked me, what did you used to do in training? I'll tell him. So we do a lot more shorter sessions, but it wasn't up to me to go up to the manager and say, this is too long, because you just don't do that as a player. You just walked in the door. If I'm a manager and a player's just signed and he comes to see me and starts having to go up my training, you know, I wouldn't have him, if I'm being honest. So you can't do that.
We need to ask, because he's told us off camera, there was a wee chance of you going to Scotland early on in your career?
Very early. I was about 19 then. The late Walter Smith, who was a legend, obviously, great guy. He was the same agent as myself. So at Christmas time, he used to come down, have our Christmas lunch, the agent would take you out. And this is after my career, really, that I used to go out and whatever. And Walter's always had great fun with Walter. He'd tell me stories about Gaza when he was up there, Loudrops and Rangers at that time. And he said, Ray, do you know, we tried to put an offer in for you when you was about 19. And I said, did you? Because George Graham would never have told me.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have gone because I was an Arsenal man through and through as a kid. But I definitely got a new contract at Arsenal if I knew. And he said, yeah, we would trebled your money. I mean, we knew what money you was on. We was going to treble your money. I was like, what? But George, obviously, he's not going to tell because I was an up-and-coming talent. And if he told me, I would have been straight in for a new contract.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't have left, I don't think. I wouldn't mind going to a game.
We'll take you up. Come and stay at his man's.
Brazil's always said to me.
My man's looking for a new man.
Yeah, Helen Brazil's always said to me, come to an old firm. It's nothing like any derby you get.
It's a different.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of this one.
So I think the atmosphere. I just like to. I don't agree with all the away fans though. You've got to have more.
No, you only get more.
They've ruined that, mate. They've ruined that.
You only get a certain amount of away fans.
It's only like 600 fans.
Yeah, that's
when it used to be. What was it? 10,000 or something.
How you get the full.
So you really, that makes an atmosphere.
So we'll wait for them to get that back, and then we'll bring you up.
Absolutely.
Will you stay at his?
Absolutely.
You can stay in her bed, I know, because she's.
What? She's single. I ain't sleeping with you, no.
No, not be me. I'm staying with my ma.
Oh right. Oh yeah. Okay.
She's single now.
So Winterburn can sleep in his bed, and you can sleep in his man's bed.
Part nice with you. Anyway, Si, you played with Gareth Southgate. Did you think then that he was going to go on to be the England manager? And
I don't think anybody I played with.
But did they have that sort of?
Yeah, he's always inquisitive. You know, he was captain for Middlesbrough, and he was always very sensible. If I'm being honest, yeah, that's the way he was as a player, like he is now as England manager.
He's not having a Cobra bomb, is he?
But he's done so well, isn't he?
No.
I mean, he's got such a good young squad, though. I mean, no, he ain't having a Cobra bomb.
Blue wicked, wasn't it?
He'll have a pint. He'd go out and socialise at Middlesbrough and have a few pints or whatever, but nothing like that. But he's done so well. Good young team, though. I think it's all about getting the right balance. He's perfect for the FA. You know, he's a perfect figurehead for the FA.
He's done a lot good, didn't he? But there's also...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's a little bit of pressure on him now because after the Euros against Italy, they got to there and semi-final in the previous World Cup. You know, I was all disappointed going out to France, but I thought they played okay in patches. They could have maybe won that game. Just didn't have that extra experience to get over the line, maybe. But now the Euros is probably his last tournament, the next Euros. So look, if he don't perform there, he don't get to a final with the young squad he's got and the players he's got to pick from, then I can see certainly a change after that.
Sorry, did you make 10 appearances for England? Is that right?
Yeah.
Are you surprised you never made much more with it? I mean,
well, it's always difficult because I was like, if I'm playing right midfield, David Beckham, and he got 125 caps, and he was never injured.
Yeah.
So you really in training, you want to try and kick him if you can because it gives you an opportunity. Plus, he plays for Man United as well. That would have been better. But David was a great player, and you know it was very hard to compete with players like that. And then obviously you had Paul Scholes in central midfield, who was a magnificent player. Then you had this younger Steven Gerrard coming through, Frank Lampard. So they had a really strong midfield. Dennis Wise back in the day, Paul Lintz. So it was a very, very competitive area, midfield. So look, again, 10 caps. I'd love to have got 20, love to have got 30, love to have got 40, but that's what it is. I was in loads of squads and I made loads of money in the card schools. So the card schools were brilliant.
Who'd been in the card school?
Well, we played 3-card brag, and it dangerous game. Alan Shearer, Michael Owen weren't very good. No. I could read what he had. The worst player to read was Teddy Sheringham. He was very good. You can see he's good at poker. Wisey, Dennis Wise was very sharp. All the London boys were pretty sharp at saying, "Oh, I can tell he's got a good hand. I'm folding it." And it's 3-card brag's all about when you get out. You might have a good hand, but it's when you've been beaten.
Right.
To put it down. And yeah, it was a great card school though. Oh.
See, so just this is, I mean, we're just about to wrap it up. See, when you went away with Arsenal, Man United players no speak to each other?
Man United have their own table.
Did they?
They had their dinner together, yeah. And Glenn Hoddle should have probably changed that.
I still like that.
You've got to mix. You've got to mix with different personnel because you could be playing alongside them and you'll get to know their personalities and whatever.
No way.
So he probably made a mistake in that factor. But no, we all spoke to each other. Of course you have to. You're in the same team, but you can see the rivalry between both sets of players. You know what I mean? We had Adams, Keown, Ashley Cole, myself in England squad at the time probably. Then they had probably 7, 8 players, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Neville's, Beckham,
Butt,
Scholes. Who else would have been in it? Andy Cole would have been in it. So Teddy Sheringham when he was at United. So they had a big
contingent.
They had a big contingent of the England squad, definitely.
Just quickly as well, sorry, Gaza in any of the squads? Any good Gaza stories?
I love Gaza. Gaza was hilarious. I think the best one for me, Gaza, was when he was at Tottenham. Someone told me the story. One of the he bought a camper van in one day, and they was having a kick around in the car park like they do, and he had the ladder going up the camper van at the back. Gaza kicked the ball on the roof of the camper van, probably on purpose. And he went to the guy, go and get the and this guy was sort of done everything for the players, sort of thing. So he's going up the ladder. He's gone and got the ball, and as he's gone across, Gaza's got in a van and drove off. So he's got him now. He's going down the motorway with the geezer on the roof. And that's the sort of thing you do. He nicked the coach and crashed it. And another time he went to the zoo and got an emu because he was running too much at Tottenham. He put a Tottenham shirt on it and let it go off in the training field, and his emu's running away.
Incredible.
That's the sort of guy he was. And Ali McCoy tells me some blinders at Rangers. I mean, when he got into his house, when he put a burglar and he's in his fridge making a sandwich at 2 a.m. And just a nutter.
Later on in the career, a couple of other characters. This is second last question. Windass, John Parkin, how were they both?
Oh yeah, John was great. Yeah, John, I don't think he liked football really, John.
Nah. And
it was really weird because I'd turn up, I train with Arsenal Monday to Thursday, and then travel up Friday, train with the lads Friday, and then play the game Saturday and go back to London. I didn't live in Hull.
Arsenal Monday to Thursday?
Yeah, when I played at Hull, and I was really getting sharp, and that's when I signed for Hull just for 15 games. And to be fair, we stayed up. Me and Dean probably saved them, me and Windass.
Was Windass good?
Windass was great. I mean, I always remember I used to stay in a hotel Friday night, and he'd stay in a hotel. Hey, should we have dinner together? I said, yeah, of course, no problem. I'll go down, have a bottle of water, and have like pasta and like all good. He'd have a big fry up and a pint of Guinness. And I'll be like that. What's that, Dean? He goes, oh yeah, Frankie's all right. The next day, I scored an hat-trick. I said, incredible. Don't change your habits. Have a Guinness next week as well. That's the sort of guy he was. He was a great character, Dino. And he's a great character now, to be fair, when you go out with him.
Last week, Matt.
Right at the end here. Hardest opponent you played against directly up against?
Hardest side, kick-wise, would have been Stuart Pearce.
Piercy.
He was go through your proper. Roy Keane was tough.
What about ability-wise, as in like, I can't.
Do you know what I played? You look at probably abroad when you're playing Milan and I said to you guys earlier, didn't I? Maldini was some player. He was like a Rolls Royce. He was like 6'2". Play centre half if you needed to, left back, and he's just comfortable. And you couldn't run past him because he was quick. He was an all-round top player. I mean, good on the ball. Good defender.
Gorgeous.
Because Italy, yeah, exactly. Italy, they could defend out there, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Back in the day, the defenders knew how to defend, and he was part of that era growing up. His old man, obviously, being a top coach himself. So he was tough to play against.
Favourite player
I didn't play him against a lot, but I remember when I did play against him, he was tough.
Favourite player to play with? Your favourite player you enjoy playing with the most? That's it.
Dennis was always great to play with because he was always read your mind. So if I'm running down a blind alley, if you like, and I've only got one pass, which would be there, but I can't really look there, he would read your mind, and I'd pass it there, hoping someone's there, and use it with Dennis Bergkamp. So he was a clever player, very clever. Read your mind. He knew where to run, where to stand. Certain people, you couldn't pick him up at times. Centre half couldn't go and pick him up, or the midfielder couldn't go and pick him up.
Yeah.
He was very clever how he got in between the lines. Like a number 10 now, like a De Bruyne for Man City or Odegaard even for Arsenal at the time, who's playing very well.
Yeah.
He gets in good little pockets where he's really hard to pick up.
Can't believe it wasn't the Winterburn.
He was the first one, wasn't he? How do you look back in your career, Ray?
My career?
How do you look back? Is it
unbelievable. I mean, very lucky. I always look back and say, absolutely, yeah. How many kids out there who grew up to be a footballer, to playing in great teams, playing lots of medals, and it was a dream come true. And people who have regrets, but I'd love to have more England caps, of course. I'd love to have got 500 games for Arsenal, but there's a lot of great players out there, like Alan Shearer. What has he won in his career? Probably one medal. So I'm very lucky in that sense to win loads of trophies and playing some great teams and have great memories of nights out and enjoying yourself as well, which was very, very important in my early career.
Where's all the medals in the house?
I've got a few. I'll probably put them in. Usually put them safe area.
In the fruit machine.
In the fruit machine.
Yeah, not in the fruit machine. You probably put them in a bank, and you get replicas. That's what you probably get in case you got burgled or whatever.
Right.
You get replicas. So you'll have them made up. So it looks like the real deal, but the real deal's in the safe area.
Ray Parlour.
Absolute hero. But just before he goes, Si, you can hold that clap. If you had one last meal ever, starter, main and dessert, what'd you go for? I'm really interested.
Do you watch my videos or not?
You'd have a Jaeger bomb.
It's got to be in a curry house. Right. My favourite food is curry. So if I probably had the last meal I could ever have, I would have a little like a chicken chat starter, chicken tikka starter maybe, as bit of mint sauce on it, a few onions. Then maybe go for a hot one. I don't always have hot ones. I love a jalfrezi, madras. That's probably how hot I go, madras. But I love a dupiazi sometimes. I mix it up every week. So I love a curry. So anything to do with curry, cobra or kingfisher to wash it down, that's a perfect meal for me.
And what's your dessert?
Don't eat desserts.
Do you know?
No.
Ray Parlour.
Fag.
I'm not a dessert man.
Super. Legend. Go on, Ray.
Cheers, mate.